As we celebrate our nation's most solemn of holidays, we are grateful for the opportunity to spend it at the races. Whether it be Indy or Charlotte, as we get set to run 600 miles here, we are grateful. Here's the Geico starting grid for tonight's race. Only 2 of the last 31 races here were won from the pole, both by Jimmie Johnson. Brad Keselowski, 7 straight outside front row start. Casey Kane, 3-time 600 winner. Danica Patrick, best start ever by a woman in this race. Clint Boyer ties his best 600 start. Denny Hamlin, a runner-up, top 10s in his last 7 Charlotte races. Kyle Busch, best 600 finish is 3rd. He'll be in a backup car and go to the rear. Joey Logano also with a 3rd place finish here. Marcus Ambrose, his 6th Coke 500. Rounding out the top 10, Dale Earnhardt Jr., 4th in 2000 in his rookie appearance.
Let's talk to the pole sitter tonight. Hey, Jimmie Johnson, DW here. You got a copy, buddy?
Yep, that's clear, DW.
Jimmy, you got a history of winning races here from the pole. Is tonight you get that win you've been looking for this year?
Man, I hope so. I don't want to mess with history, so I need to keep that deal going. We've got a great low Chevrolet. Looking forward to an awesome night tonight. Happy there's so many fans here in the grandstands watching, so many people at home watching, and we'll give it a good run for the money tonight.
All right, my friend, you got a good-looking car. You're on the pole. Have at it. Good luck.
Thank you, buddy. Happy Memorial Day, everyone. Thank you all the men and women that have served our country.
Jimmie Johnson from the pole. 2 weeks ago, Danica Patrick got her best ever career finish in a Sprint Cup race. Thursday night here, she was fastest in the 2nd round of knockout qualifying, and she is the highest placed woman to ever start the Coca-Cola 600.
Well, let's talk to Danica. Danica Patrick, DW here. You got a copy? And Danica, DW, you got a copy? I think she's trying to talk to us. Danica, it's DW. Cat, you got a copy there? Well, we'll work on that. You know, she's probably pretty busy right now, so we'll work on that. We'll get back to her a little bit later. We'll get back to you a little bit later there, Danica.
Also out on track, veteran crew chief, championship winning crew chief Jeff Hammond.
Yeah, man, we're just coming off the racetrack right now, Mike, and I'm telling you, you can feel the energy in the grandstands. A moment ago, you can hear a pin drop because of all of the I guess you might say, playing the taps and everything, but right now the energy is up. This race, everybody's ready to go. The drivers, they were getting in the cars, their eyes told me they're ready to get it on. These crews, they're ready to get it done. But the main thing, folks, we couldn't do this great event if it was not for the fact of the men and women that serve for us around the country. But remember, on Memorial Day, the main deal is, hey, it's all about those who gave their all for this great country. Mike?
Thank you, Jeff. We should all remember. We introduced Budweiser Speed Tweets, the new interactive game where fans compete for a chance to race go-karts with Kevin Harvick. Visit Budweiser.com/speed tweets to register. Let's go pit side to Krista Voda.
Thanks, Mike Joy. We have documented that Jeff Gordon has had the back spasm in practice. Right now, he said it's most aggravated when he pushes the clutch or twists the steering wheel. It's his lower back, so the team has made modifications to the interior of his race car to keep his torso as stable as possible. He plans on going all 600 miles, but crew chief Alan Gustafson did debrief with Regan Smith, who was over my shoulder in the pits last night, just in case. Matt Yoakum?
Due to conflicting schedules, Kurt Busch knew he would be fading to the back. He prepared by taking part of every practice session on the track and all the debriefs off. Also, he surrounded himself with a nucleus of specialists, special forces doctors, and marathon specials to help with hydration and nutrition. You heard him say earlier, adrenaline at an all-time high. Chapter 2 starts in just a few moments, Steve Burns.
Well, Matt, Kyle Busch has 14 wins at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, but none have come in the Cup Series. He had qualified 7th, but as Mike Joy said, he crashed in practice yesterday. The team had to roll out the backup car, so he will start from the rear of this field. His team said moments ago they don't expect him to stay there very long.
Thanks, Steve. We're ready to go. Pace car exits turn number 4. Beautiful day for racing here in the Queen City. 400 laps, 600 miles.
All right, folks. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, drivers, for our soldiers and troops all over the world.
Brad Keselowski took his Ford deep into turn 3 on the outside. Jimmy Johnson exits 4 with a meager advantage and too close to call at the line.
I tell you, Brad Keselowski in that 2 got a big run on the outside. So did Danica Patrick that 10. Now she's up there in the 3rd spot.
Casey Kane in 4th, Clint Boyer 5th, and Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Marcus Ambrose, and Matt Kenseth at the top 10.
Yeah, this is a 600-mile race, boys. It's not a drag race. Y'all might want to sort this out here pretty quick, and they did, coming off turn 4, 48 to the lead.
Jimmy Johnson and the Lowe's Chevrolet assumes command. Brad Keselowski's Ford, Danica Patrick Chevy. And I didn't expect this. We got a little 3, maybe 4-car breakaway here. Side by side for 5th, Clint Boyer, Denny Hamlin, both in Toyotas. That's Joey Logano, the 22, looking on. And then Ambrose.
Mike, it's just not uncommon in this race to try to get a little bit single file here and sort your car out. See what you got. And here goes Danica in that 10 car. She's challenging Brad Keselowski for that 2nd spot, and she might just get it.
Darrell, we've been saying it
not
all
quite
week long.
clear,
Oh,
Larry.
yeah, she's up. Clear up. Go.
We've been saying it all week long. The confidence that she brought here after that run at Kansas, a top 10 finish, I think you can't put a price on it.
I don't know what car that is, but if it was my car, it'd be the Kansas car.
That's
that
a brand new car.
That baby's getting the job done.
And Casey Kane in the number 5 Chevrolet, who many felt had the fastest car on All-Star night 1 week and a day ago. Slides up into 3rd.
And Mike, what Danica's doing, I know she's running 2nd behind Jimmy Johnson, but what she's doing right now is what we all knew she could do. We all knew she could wheel a car. We all knew she could drive a car. They're finally giving her something that she's comfortable in, and she performing.
Patrick in 2nd, 1 second off the lead. Here's Matt.
DW, that's a brand new race car. Better downforce numbers than they had at Kansas. They've cycled through. That Kansas car will see service again, more than likely, at Michigan.
4th place is the race. Clint Boyer has a run off turn number 2. He moves to the inside of Keselowski.
I think Brad Keselowski's 2 car, that will be one they're going to have to get really aggressive with changes on this first pit stop. I think he could run fast for a lap or 2, but that was about it.
Looks like a short run car, and I mean real short.
Jeff Gordon, Greg Biffle side by side. That's back at 24th spot, and that silver car, well, that's Kyle Larson, who won yesterday's Nationwide Series race. Dale Earnhardt Jr. 9th ahead of Marcus Ambrose.
Just says a list of the engines in these cars. Right at 9,500 RPM, and they'll do that for 4.5 hours.
400 laps, 800 cycles.
Oh, my.
There you see 9,100. Rolling off into the corner, 9,300 at 194 miles an hour.
And that will go up as the sun goes down.
Martin Truex moving up to the inside in his Chevrolet and dives into the corner underneath Marcus Ambrose.
And Mike, we watched Martin Truex Jr. in that 78 car in practice yesterday, and he looked like he had a car that was pretty good on the long run.
Tell you what, when I watch that 48 car Jimmy Johnson, boy, does that bring back some memories of that car being so dominant over here for so long. Then they repaved the racetrack, and it really changed the setups in these cars. And it looks like Chad and Jimmy may have gotten that thing set up right tonight. I've not seen that car run this good in quite some time.
Here's the Kansan. Clint Boyer moving up into 3rd around Casey Kane. Now they're 2.5 seconds behind the race leader, Jimmy Johnson. Johnson led 9 straight Coke 600s, but he has not led this race since 2010.
Oh, yeah. Here's how you know when Jimmy Johnson's car is good. Watch his hands. We've been in the car with him a couple times this year when he was fighting that wheel left, right, left, right. Look at that thing. That's Jimmy Johnson at his finest right there. Just a little twitch of the wheel, and that thing is getting around this racetrack right now. Last time by, he ran a 29.35, right at 86 miles an hour.
To your earlier point, since the repave, he is winless. in the Coke 600.
Darrell, y'all talked about it in the pre-race show, and I think we had a lot of storylines coming to this race. But I think the big storyline, especially after him sitting on the pole, could he finally end this winless streak here? Because he's never went deeper than race 12, which we're on right now, without winning a race.
Well, we're in his wheelhouse right now. We know that. We know that Charlotte, we know that Dover, we know that Pocono, those are tracks that this team has dominated on. So we're in their wheelhouse.
Kurt Busch now behind the familiar wheel of his Haas Automation Chevrolet. 6th at Indianapolis. Finished on the lead lap. Mission accomplished. Thanks to Cessna Jets and Bell Helicopters, he arrived here in plenty of time for the race, but not the drivers' meeting. So he had to start at the back, and he has jumped 9 positions in that number 41.
Looks like to me he's letting his brother Kyle Busch in 18 open the door, and he just follows him through it. Both of them starting at the rear.
That's what brothers are for. You know, you go ahead, brother. I'll follow you.
Clint Boyer has caught Danica Patrick and moves to the outside in the front straightaway, trying to make the pass for 2nd place, and does behind Jimmy Johnson. 13 laps of 400 complete at Charlotte Motor Speedway. You're watching NASCAR on Fox. Jimmy Johnson still leading. We asked you to show us how you get ready for race day. Here's a KFC social media pit stop. How do you KFC? With a father-daughter picnic in the park. That's how they get ready for race day. Brad Keselowski, Kevin Harvick. Now this is for 5th place, Matt.
And Mike, the blue deuce of Brad Keselowski, he's faded back to 5th. Now, one item that they were really been trying to work on since their win at Las Vegas was trying to get a better platform. Paul Wolf told me, yes, we have been struggling just to tick off of our game, but we're making headway. The biggest thing they also want to work on tonight is trying to get that car to migrate up to the higher lane. That's something like he's doing now, trying to get that car a little better, because Brad said that was the biggest hindrance in the All-Star race. Just could not pass anybody because everybody was on the bottom.
Marcus Ambrose in the 9. This track is just not wide enough for the way that car is handling.
No, that tee is twisted. I can tell you that. And you watch him. He is working that thing.
He has dropped from 7th to 24th, Krista.
And Mike, I can tell you why. It was back on lap 8 that he came on the radio and called his car wicked loose. He's losing time on entry.
He's had to chase it up the hill and almost ran out of room twice. Kind of good that the walls here are painted yellow. You wouldn't much be able to tell, would you?
And a Sunoco fuel run here, Darrell, is about 44 to 48 laps. We're only about halfway through that fuel run.
The way things are spread. Oh, look like.
Did we get a car in the wall in turn 3? Is that Brian Scott coming slowly off the corner?
I think it was a 33 car. I looked up and he was sideways into the fence. He bounced off and kept going, so I don't know how much damage it did to the car, but he definitely got up against the fence.
No caution flag as Kevin Harvick whistles past, or he and Casey Kane battle. Now there's Brian Scott. Left side is fine. The right side, he was running 17th in that Richard Childress Racing prepared car, but he has some pretty heavy right side damage.
Yeah, I think he must, Mike, because he's fallen back pretty fast here. I don't see any tire smoke, but I do think he has quite a bit of right side body damage. Well, look, here as he goes by. Oh, yeah, that right rear is banged up pretty good.
Scott able to continue.
I've got to be ready for some right side damage whenever we see it. Find the tank stuff here for us. Andy, watch the tire smoke, please.
They're watching what we're watching as Tony Stewart flashes past. Let's have a look here at the 33 going into turn 3.
Yeah, he goes into turn 3. He's already up high. He gets up there and the back just gets around a little bit and he slams it pretty hard. You can see the black tire marks along the yellow wall there. He got it pretty good.
And he qualified 17th. That's pretty much about where he was running when that happened.
No debris on the track, thus no caution flag. We stay green at 24 laps into the Coca-Cola 600. Jimmy Johnson leads Clint Boyer by 1.2 seconds now. Danica Patrick 3rd, Kevin Harvick, Casey Kane. Brad Keselowski as Casey Kane backs out of the top 5. Keselowski moves back up to 5th. Let's check with Krista on the leader.
You know, I talked with the team this morning, specifically some time with Chad Knaus. Right now, Jimmy Johnson talking about his race car being tight. But he said really what they have to do is find the balance between single car speed in practice, which they've had a lot of, and how the car handles in traffic. That has really been their issue all year. Steve Burns?
Well, Krista, Clint Boyer started 5th. He is up to 2nd. His spotter, Brett Griffin, told him the 48 is in its own zip code right now, but you are faster than everybody in your mirror. He also told Clint he was running a little bit different line than everybody else. Some other drivers have tried it, but could not do it.
Thanks, Steve. You see Kevin Harvick passing Danica Patrick. That is for 3rd, and they are teammates at Stewart-Haas Racing. Jimmy Johnson, your leader, at 27 laps.
The Coca-Cola 600 on Fox is sponsored by Coca-Cola, the official soft drink of NASCAR. Coca-Cola, open happiness. By your next truck, Ford F-150. And by Sprint, get the HTC One M8 Harman Kardon Edition, exclusive from Sprint.
After 34 green flag laps, here's a closer look at today's race action with Sprint. Jimmy Johnson, fastest speed of the race, 190.2. Draft off your family and save with a Sprint family plan. Up to 10 friends and family get unlimited talk, text, and 1 gig of data for as little as $25 a month each on the Sprint network. Visit sprint.com/speed. Start your family today. Clint Boyer 2nd, Kevin Harvick 3rd. Brad Keselowski's just moved into 4th, displacing Danica Patrick to 5th. Earnhardt, Kane, Kenseth, Logano, Hamlin are the top 10. Now Clint closed to within half a second, and now Johnson is legging it out a bit again.
That's typical Jimmy Johnson, Chad Knaus. Let those 15 close up a little bit and then see if you can, open the gap up. Don't run any harder than you have to right now. Save tires, save a little fuel. You don't have to run so hard.
Here comes Earnhardt for 10th place in that National Guard Chevy. 5th place. He takes away from Danica Patrick right here.
I think this is what we anticipated after qualifying on Thursday night, especially once we get deep into a run. It would be a night of comers and goers, and that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, Larry, if you look at the racetrack, turns 1 and about halfway into the middle of 1 and 2 down there, it's in shade. Same way in 3 and 4. About the middle of 3 and 4 off turn 4 in shade. Some of the tracks in shade, some of it, and that really is kind of a nightmare when it comes to trying to figure out what the car means.
Sunset doesn't come until 8:30 tonight officially, Eastern.
And Mike and Darrell, we're within about 10 laps of what will be green flag pit stops. And with the way this pace has slowed down well over 2 seconds, once drivers start hitting pit road for 4 fresh Goodyear tires, you can't sit out there and be far behind them.
In each of the last 6 Coca-Cola 600s, the first pit stop made was under green. We've begun each of the last 6 races with a long green flag run.
And a lot of that, Mike, is just, I'm telling you, when you start the race under these conditions, drivers are very cautious. They just want to get to the sundown. They want to get to when the track gets better. You don't want to mess the car up right now like we saw the 33 do.
32 cars are on the lead lap after 38 laps. Let's get a preview of pit stops, beginning with Krista.
Well, for Jimmy Johnson right now, Mike, he is fighting a tight race car. He's been talking to Chad Knaus specifically about how tight it's getting. He said it's tight at both ends. Chad Knaus cheering him on, saying you're doing a great job. Remember, their strength is not panicking, especially early in this race. They know that they'll have it dialed in by the time the sun sets. Steve?
Well, Krista, the 15 car there driven by Clint Boyer, he is tight from the center off. Now, meanwhile, Kevin Harvick in the 4 car has moved into the 3rd position. He is at pit stall number 43, the first pit off of turn 4. He told his team, it is very rare we're in this pit stall. Remind me every time we pit, Matt Yoakum.
Steve, Brad Keselowski has climbed up to 4th. 4 of his last 5 wins come on 1.5-mile racetracks, just like Charlotte. His big issue earlier in the session, he was tight at both ends of the racetrack. On the splitter, the 10 car, Danica Patrick, she is good down in turns 1 and 2, but her biggest hindrance, she has to wait on the throttle, trying to get back in the gas, down in the sun in 3 and 4.
Thanks, Matt. 41 laps in. Jeff Gordon skipped final practice yesterday because of back spasms. Recurrence of an old injury or something new, we're not sure, but he thought a little extra rest might help him get ready for tonight's race. Regan Smith stands by in relief. Gordon started 27th. He is up to 12th. Regan Smith doesn't expect to have a lot to do tonight.
One thing I do expect is that 20 car, Matt Kenseth, to just keep creeping toward the front. Matt started back in the 12th position, and now he's up there battling well inside the top 10 in 7th.
Following up on that report on the 48 car as well. The track, as the sun goes down, Larry, the track has been known, traditionally here lately, has been known to loosen up. So if Chad Knaus got the car a little tight for Jimmy right now, I think Chad is thinking, yeah, but buddy, it's going to come to us, and we're going to be spot on when the sun goes down.
It's about to lap a former Coke 600 winner here, Casey Mears, in the number 13 Chevy. We saw rookie Alex Bowman on pit road, maybe a little bit early, but it won't be long before we have green flag pit stops among the lead cars.
And again, as we mentioned, the Sunoco fuel run is about 44 to 48 laps, which they can go another, with the way the pace is slowed down, I think they could probably go close to 50 laps. But my point earlier, if drivers start hitting pit road and getting those 4 fresh tires, they're going to be beating you 2 to 2.5 seconds a lap. So you really can't just sit out there and stretch it to the max.
11th place, side by side, and Denny Hamlin eases his Toyota ahead of Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, we heard the report on Jeff Gordon that twisting and turning in the seat, turning and twisting on the wheel, making pit stops could be very difficult for Jeff Gordon if his back is really bothering him as bad as they say it is.
Brian Truex and Greg Biffle in the pit lane. Here comes Brian Scott, David Gilliland, and more. Green flag stops have begun. Cole Witt, David Reagan, Casey Kane among the leaders is in. So is Reed Sorensen, Danica Patrick, the 55 of Brian Vickers, Jamie McMurray, the All-Star winner, Paul Menard, and more. Pit road's filling up fast here. Now Casey Kane rolled through.
Well, I forget I don't know who the car was, but there was a car got in his way and he couldn't get in his pit box. Casey Kane couldn't get in his pit box.
Justin Allgaier in, McMurray headed out, Trevor Bayne, Tony Stewart, Michael McDowell coming in, AJ Allmendinger, a little bit of spilt gasoline there.
Ooh,
a hot lug nut coming off one of those wheels will do that.
Let's see what happened to Casey Kane. He was coming in for a pit stop, and as he was coming down pit road, he was running 6. You'll see a car starts to duck in, and here comes the 83 car right out in his way, and he can't get in his pit box.
But going back around beat the alternative of what was about to happen right there.
But that's the kind of luck that 5 team has had, Larry. Every time they get a fast car, they get to going good, something happens.
Clint Boyer's in, Jeff Gordon in the pit lane, Eric Almirola as well. Jimmy Johnson still out there on your left, and he's headed for pit road along with Kyle Busch, Ricky Stenhouse, and Kurt Busch. And a loose tire gets away. I think that was one of Marcus Ambrose's tires.
That tire was bad on the car, and it got away on the pit stop.
That got worse.
It got worse.
There's Johnson into a stop. Stopping right on the mark on the signboard. It'll be a quick 4 tires and Sunoco race fuel. Ryan Newman comes in.
Tell you what, you better have a good spotter when you're out there on the old tires and everybody else is on new ones, because you will get run over.
Brad Keselowski in the deuce became the race's 2nd leader as he assumed the lead. Newman's team finishing up a 4-tire change as Keselowski hits his pit stall. Paul Wolf and crew go to work. Chassis adjustment right rear, 4 tires and gas.
Yeah, we cycled through that set of green flag pit stops in about 4 to 5 laps.
And that 2 car was inches away from sliding through his pit box there. He was an inch away from the line.
And the offense for Marcus Ambrose's team is equipment leaving the pit box. A tire rolled away. He will have to do a pass-through penalty down pit road at pit road speed. Everyone has made their first pit stop of the night, and Jimmy Johnson is back out front. 49 laps complete in the Coca-Cola 600 on Fox. some off-duty soldiers in the Middle East in Kandahar get to enjoy the Coca-Cola 600 with you on Fox. We thank all of them for their service and all of our nation's military throughout history for protecting the freedoms that we hold dear and allowing us to enjoy this Memorial Day weekend in a way of our choosing. Jimmy Johnson leads Kevin Harvick by 3/4 of a second right now, pulling up on Kurt Busch, who was 6th at Indianapolis earlier today. Let's have a look at our Sunoco green flag pit cycle.
Now what this is the 2 laps under green, but including the trip down pit road. And you see right there, not only did Matt Kenseth, was he one of the early drivers to come on that cycle, but he and his crew, he getting on and off pit road and the crew changing 4 tires, they did the best job that time. And pretty much Matt came in running 7th, and now he's inside the top 5 at 4th. So good job there. I think also coming a little early made a difference as well.
Larry, what about Brad Keselowski's strategy, though, on this green flag run?
Well, to my point earlier, when you stay out, he was the last one to pit, and he was running 4th prior to the cycle of green flag pit stops. And now, Mike, he has fallen outside the top 5. He's still got a good race car, but I think waiting to lap 50, a lap or 2 more than all the other drivers, he gave up about 4 or 5 seconds there.
And remember, Mike and Larry, the drivers are on the racetrack a long time tonight, 600 miles, over 4 hours. But these pit crews tonight, they're going to make more pit stops tonight, and they'll make all year. And so not only do the drivers have to be in great shape, but so do the pit crews have to stay hydrated and focused as well.
Well, Darrell, to your point, the winner here in the fall race last year, the 500-miler, made 8 stops. Kevin Harvick's team, who won this race a year ago, 100 miles longer, made 11 pit stops.
Lapping Ricky Stenhouse. Traffic here for the race leaders. Kurt Busch did go 1 lap down. But in NASCAR, that's not as big a problem as you might think. The first car 1 lap down at the caution flag gets the free pass and gets that lap back. This was instead of what we used to do, was race back to the caution flag, something that turned out to be not all that safe. Also, when the caution flies, if all the leaders pit, drivers that stay out on track and choose not to pit can use a wave around before we go back to green. So there are a number of ways to recover from being 1 lap down, besides just racing your way up and passing the leader to get that lap back.
I know who keeps racing their way up is Jeff Gordon in that 24 car. He just drove by Danica Patrick in the 10. He's now cracked the top 10. He's up to 9th position. Kansas 2 weeks ago, he got his 89th career win. 20 years ago was his first win here in the 1994 Coca-Cola 600.
Krista?
And Mike, talking to crew chief Alan Gustafson this morning, they were able to put a positive spin on the fact that the car had to sit for that second practice. They said yesterday's second practice, it gets a little hot, it gets slick, which it was, and a lot of teams will try to chase that handling, knowing, though, that it won't be anything like the handling in today's race. They didn't have to worry about that at all. And for Jeff Gordon, he said the car feels really good, and just going through the motions of all the routine items, like a pit stop, like a restart, like the long laps or long green flag runs. That is what's important, just getting him comfortable in the car.
Jimmy Johnson has led all but 3 laps so far. Kevin Harvick stalking him from half a second back. 64 of 400 laps complete in the Coca-Cola 600. Tonight's aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, proudly supporting our military for 100 years. Show your support for our troops at Goodyear.com, the Goodyear official tire of NASCAR. Jimmy Johnson leading Kevin Harvick by 3/4 of a second. Let's have a look at tonight's Ford EcoBoost track facts. Fred Lorenzen, newly elected to NASCAR's Hall of Fame, was the first driver to win 3 straight races at Charlotte, 1964 and 5. Mark Martin scored the last win for Ford in the 600 in 2002. For 10th place, Denny Hamlin trying to pass Danica Patrick to move into the top 10.
Yeah, Danica had been stuck on the bottom, had been running the real low line up until recently. Now she's moved up the track, so I'm looking for a little more grip up high.
Look at the shade and the sunlight and this changing racetrack. Here's Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s take on the changes in track so far.
Feels like we made an air pressure adjustment that only lasts for about 10 laps, and it was probably a little too much. Now it drives exactly like it did before, probably be very similar run. You've done great, man. You've managed this race spectacular. You're P5. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing perfect. Let the sun get down. We'll keep adjusting it and let me know how this whole run goes.
And that's exactly what he told me earlier in the day. But Darrell, right now, as we see this battle for 10th continue between Denny Hamlin and Danica Patrick, is you're kind of between a rock and a hard place, because half the track is in shade, half the track is still in sunlight, mainly turn 2, turn 3 in the backstretch.
Yeah, this is the most confusing part of the race, because the driver's saying one thing and the crew chief knows that that's not what they need to be doing.
If anybody here is confused, Jeff Hammond.
Oh, thanks a lot there, Mike. But no, been watching these guys after that first pit stop of figuring out who made the right adjustment. The Hendrick cars look like they're very close to keeping up with the racetrack. We see what Jimmy Johnson's doing. We've noticed what's going on with the 88 car. The 24 is continuing to march his way forward, while we're looking at Danica Patrick. The adjustment they made on her car seemed like they really hurt the speed of the car. So some people are happy, but other guys are not. There's a lead right there, change right there. Kevin Harvick trying to get under the 4.
Harvick to the inside. Now that's Austin Dillon in the 3 up high, and Harvick will use Dillon as a pick and pin Johnson behind the 3. But can Harvick complete the pass?
Oh, yeah, and Harvick's good on the bottom. And Mike, it's just like we said in our pre-race show down there. This 4 car week in and week out is the fastest car on the racetrack. If they can get through 600 miles a night without any issues, pit stops, or anything else, he's going to be hard to beat. That 4 car is fast. It's been in a league of its own, a zip code of its own, most all year.
Eric Almirola driving Richard Petty's 43, carrying the Air Force colors. Almirola's dad was in the Air Force, and he kind of moved around the country with the family, so carrying that badge of service, a special pride for Tampa's Eric Almirola. He passes Danica Patrick, who, Matt, has slipped now to 14th.
Mike, big concerns for Danica Patrick in the 10. Now she's going to go down the backstretch as she enters turn 3. That's where her biggest problem lies. The car is almost sideways on entry, and it's just skating. She told her team moments ago that she is just holding on.
That's probably the part that has the least amount of grip. But look at the run Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88 car got up all the way up against the wall of turn 2. Looked like he has 100 more horsepower than Matt Kenseth in that 20.
Nah, he's just got a cape with an S on it.
And don't tug on Superman's cape.
No.
I thought he gave that cape to Larry.
I have it right there.
Okay. Kevin Harvick, your new leader in the Coca-Cola 600.
The Coca-Cola 600 on Fox is sponsored by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. With Michael Waltrip, Chris Myers, about 125 miles in this Coca-Cola 600-mile race. The first 100 miles went in 34 minutes, an average speed of 176 miles per hour. Jimmy Johnson has led the most laps, Michael, at 72, but Kevin Harvick, who's won 2 of the last 3 races here, has worked his way into the lead.
Yeah, and Rodney Childers has won this race as a crew chief too, Chris, so you got to look for these guys to make adjustments all night long, all year long. There's Rodney there. That car has been the fastest car on the track. Look for that to continue tonight.
And in Las Vegas, the odds makers made him a 5-1 favorite with Jimmy Johnson a 6-1 choice. Of course, Jimmy started on the pole searching for that first win of this season.
He did, and he was able to drive off from some guys, but also in the meantime other racers were catching him, as in Kevin Harvick. Clint Boyer closing in. The fastest car on the track lately has been Dell Jr., so those are some cars to keep your eyes on as it keeps getting darker and darker.
And Jimmy Johnson has won this race from the pole. You know, we started about 6:20, the sun set about 8:25 or so, so 2 hours of daylight before we get to night racing. And speaking of Clint Boyer, 52 races since his last win. It came here at Charlotte in the 2012 Chase race. Now, he won the Sprint Showdown last weekend, transferred into the All-Star race, finished 7th.
Yeah, and he's very confident about his car. The long run here at the beginning of the race without a caution has really hurt Kurt Busch. Kyle Busch as well. They started in the back. Kurt doing the double from Indy to Charlotte, but he's struggling right now. He's a lap down. Needs a caution to get to pit road and work on that car.
Yeah, and Clint Boyer's spotter saying earlier that the 48 and 50 Jimmy Johnson and his driver in a different area code or zip code. But what about Jamie McMurray, the all-star winner who's never won the Coca-Cola 600 but has won a lot of big races?
I love this guy. He started in 26. He's been able to make moves, Chris. He's up into the top 12. So he talked about track position being everything, but he hasn't used any strategy to gain that track position. He's just raced his way through the field. So he's got a good car too.
3 leaders, 5 different lead changes, and no cautions. Another round of pit stops coming up, but Kurt Busch currently a lap down after a 6th place finish, completing all 500 laps at Indy. How will he hold up tonight? The Coca-Cola 600 is sponsored by the Dodge Charger. Born Dodge.
With only 15 cars on the lead lap, a lot of drivers decided they needed a change, and now. So most of the cars 1 and 2 laps down have already been to pit road in this second green flag pit stop cycle. The top 8, 9 of the top 12 have not yet made that stop. Race leader Kevin Harvick on the left of your screen.
10 away right here, 10 away. If it's still running, you'll be fine. If it cuts off, cycle the switch. Right here.
Steve?
Well, Mike, Kevin Harvick said that his car takes off loose, but then gets better. It goes to the tight side. If anything, 4 tires for Kevin Harvick and a packet full of Sunoco fuel.
Now all but the first 5 have been in. There's Boyer. So we're waiting on Jimmy Johnson. Carl Edwards jumps up the chart. He had been a lap down, but has not yet made his stop. All 3 of the Roush Fenway cars.
Here comes Johnson,
a lap in
now,
arrears.
48.
So it sounded as if Kevin Harvick may have run out of fuel. He had a 2.4-second lead over Jimmy Johnson prior to stops. Here's Johnson.
In my book, that's what cost Kevin Harvick that race at Kansas. They tried to run him a lap too far there at the end.
Krista.
The plan for Jimmy Johnson was to take the spring rubber out of the left rear. It was lap 91 when Chad Knaus came on the radio and said, great lap. Jimmy Johnson, thinking his times were falling off, they were getting better as the adjustments are made to give him just a little bit more stability.
Yeah, that rubber out of the left rear will make the car a little freer, make it turn a little bit better. It takes a little pressure off that left rear tire, frees the car up.
Now Edwards is the last of the leaders to pit. He will pit from 3rd place. But because he was a lap down at the start of the pit cycle, he likely will be when his stop is done and he gets back up to speed. Harvick is the leader once again.
Mike, they stack those springs, rear springs full of spring rubbers. They'll have them just hanging in there with tire wraps. If they want to add one, they just slam it up in there. If they want to pull one out, they got a tire wrap where they can jerk it out and it just hangs there.
And that's part of the program of aggressive adjustments.
Austin Dillon, rookie, driving for his granddad Richard Childress in the Cheerios car. Right side damage on that number 3. Battling Justin Allgaier there, fellow rookie Allgaier from Illinois.
Let's see if we can see the side of the 3 car. It doesn't appear to be very significant.
Here's another look, Darrell.
Getting a little loose off of turn 4 there, and I'd call that a kiss.
Just a little bit with that right rear.
A sun kiss.
There's a look from Ryan Newman's car.
Oh, maybe a little bit more than kiss, huh? when you see Firefly, that's a little bit more than kiss.
You went in for a kiss and got slapped. Was what happened.
That was his teammate Ryan Newman that had that bird's eye view. Well, we've been talking about green flag pit stop cycles, and this is the 2 laps driver getting on the pit road and getting off, including the pit stop. Once again, Matt Kenseth in that 20 team, just like the first set of green flag pit stops, Matt and his pit crew did the best job of anyone else.
Note the 2 Joe Gibbs cars at the top of the board. The former Super Bowl winning football coach has 2 very aggressive pit crews, 3 actually.
And one thing that could have really helped Kevin Harvick in that Ford team running out of fuel, they picked the very first pit stall coming in, so that probably saved him right there.
But here's the 3rd Joe Gibbs car making another stop. Denny Hamlin back in for 4 tires.
When you come back in that quick and you change 4 tires, he evidently felt the vibration in that 11 car.
You know, back to Kenseth real quick, the consistency of Matt Kenseth, which doesn't surprise me. That's the kind of driver he is. He's got 3 top 5s and 8 top 10s. Doesn't have a win yet, but when he starts winning, look out.
But those numbers, that's the reason he's second in the points right now.
Exactly, and I think you can make the chase with those kind of numbers.
After pit stops, Kevin Harvick's lead on Jimmy Johnson is 5 seconds. On the first round of green flag pit stops, the Rodney Childers-led crew for that number 4 gained 1.2 seconds on Chad Knaus's crew for the 48. In this round of stops, the difference was 2.5 advantage Harvick. There's 4 of your 5-second lead right there.
Based on what happened in the All-Star race, sounds like they did a little work this past week.
And remember, they made adjustments on that 48 car. It takes just a little bit longer.
Kevin Harvick, your leader.
The Coca-Cola 600 on Fox is sponsored by Chevrolet. Find new roads. And by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price, every day.
Debris in turn number 1 puts us under the first caution flag of the afternoon, 108 laps in to the Coca-Cola 600. And the Cessna number 1 of Jamie McMurray is our Aaron's lucky dog. He'll get back on the lead lap. You don't need credit. All you need is Aaron's. Free pass for McMurray. Steve Burns.
Kevin Harvick says that his car still takes off a little bit on the loose side. They're going to take 4 tires. Clint Boyer into 15. Told his crew chief Brian Patty, he said, I like my race car right now. It's really manageable. No changes on the 15. Krista?
Dale Earnhardt Jr. saying on that last run his car got a little bit tighter in. He said it's not bad, it's just different. Meanwhile, Jimmy Johnson saying the adjustment Chad Knaus made helped give the car a little bit of a point, but he said he still needs to be able to drive it in deeper.
Harvick, Johnson, Boyer coming off the pit road.
Mike, we only had 10 drivers on the lead lap, so that was kind of no-brainer strategy. 4 tires for everyone.
And Harvick gets out first.
The Coca-Cola 600 is sponsored by GoDaddy. Your talent is amazing. Put it online. It's go time. By Aaron's. Aaron's helps you own the life you want with no credit needed. And by FedEx. FedEx One Rate. Simple, flat rate shipping with the reliability of FedEx.
111 laps complete. We're under caution as Chevrolet and its dealers are proud to support Military Appreciation Month with the best military purchase program for all who have served. Learn more at ChevySalutes.com. Damage to Casey Mears' car being repaired by Booty Barker's crew. And let's take a look at our Husqvarna high performance drivers. These are the drivers who have visited Victory Lane in the Sprint Cup Series so far this season. Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, 2 victories apiece.
9 winners, 11 races. That's pretty impressive. People were wondering if we'd get to 16 or not.
While we're under caution, let's get our Subway fresh take. Steve Burns.
With Brian Patty, the crew chief on the 15 car. Brian, you guys were really fast when the race started. Are you able to keep up with the track so far?
We hope so. You know, our car was good yesterday in the first practice. Was similar track conditions, so we'll wait and see. We'll see if our notes are good like we think they are. And you know, we're racing really good cars. 448 were the same as us in practice, and we're obviously going to race them hard until the end here.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Steve. Now, earlier on the first green flag pit stop, there was concern from Kevin Harvick's team. Did they run out of fuel? We listen.
What happened a while ago, no idea. Different cell, different configuration. Makes no sense, so we'll do the best we can with it. The thing that did change was a lot of park throttle time, running that high groove. So I might have just used more gas. Therefore.
Among the folks that bring us those in-car radios, one of our engineers, Hoppy, Mark Williams, Very proud of his daughter, Chrissy Moran, just graduated from UNC Asheville. Congratulations.
Now, the first run, Kevin Harvick ran 47 laps and made a pit stop, which made it, he should have pitted at 94, but they tried to stretch it to lap 96. They tried to go 49 laps on the second run.
20 cars did not pit and took the wave around. That included 8 cars that got back on the tail end of the lead lap as Kevin Harvick in white and red and Jimmy Johnson in blue haul them off to turn 1. Look at Kyle Busch way up on the outside, and he's got company as they go 3 wide down that back straightaway.
He can do that better than anybody I know of. I've never seen a guy that can pass so many cars on a restart.
Craig Biffle behind him, and then rookie Kyle Larson.
But the goal for Kyle Busch in that 18 car, he's the first driver that has fresh tires. He's the first driver that's 1 lap down right now.
Boyer and Kenseth, the 15 and the 20. Jeff Gordon right there with him, fighting for third.
Kyle Busch is going somewhere. I don't know if he's going to run out of room or not, but he's trying to go up too here, buddy. He's making some drastic moves.
Had a tough night in the All-Star race a week ago here. Got down into the corner, dipped a tire down on the apron, shot up into the wall and out of the event.
Well, another thing, he has Greg Biffle in that 16 car. He's battling Kyle Busch, the first driver 1 lap down, to get that free pass. Should we get a caution? Both those drivers have 4 fresh tires.
I think that I understand that he's it's urgent right now for the 18 car, but sometimes that's what gets him in trouble. Is just needing to use a little wee bit more patience.
4th place. Jeff Gordon's drive to end Hunger Chevy. Getting past the Toyota of Matt Kenseth.
Well, Jeff Gordon's back might be hurting a little bit, but it's not hurting his driving, I can tell you that.
No, not at all.
And Darrell, when we interviewed him yesterday, he qualified 25th. He said it's actually started showing up in that qualifying session on Thursday night.
I wondered if that wreck he had in the All-Star race, it didn't look that bad on TV, but I wonder if that kind of jarred something and put some strain on his back that has created this problem.
No, Darrell, he didn't attribute it to any one thing, but he said he felt something and he knew it was wrong.
Well, you know, if you've had back trouble at all, you twist sometimes, just make the wrong turn, twist, and you can get a little pain in your back.
Now here's Brad Keselowski, who started outside pole for the 7th time this season. He is currently 7th, Matt.
Still trying to work on getting the blue deuce to run the high side. He said on the bottom he's a 3rd to 5th place car, but up top he is struggling. The track is getting better, and although they are getting better, he still seeks more front grip. That's what they worked on the last stop, Mike.
Still a bit of sunshine on the back straightaway. The front stretch in turns 1 and 4 completely shaded now as we're still in daylight, but I'm not sure for how long. And you know, I didn't mean to pick on Jeff Hammond. He and Darrell Waltrip each gave a daughter away in marriage and ceremonies in separate states yesterday. Jeff, I know a big and a great day for you, and you got some great company with you now.
Yes, I do, Mike. I'm up here with Private Branch right here and Sergeant Tatum. This is a Jimmy Johnson fan, and she was hoping Danica could kind of keep that number 10 car up front, but we got a great view up here. The military is so excited about today's event. Gives them a great opportunity to get off base and kind of get a chance to have a little bit of, you might say, social time here at the racetrack. We're just having a great time hanging out. Pretty good view from way up here. We can really see where the line's working. Where old Kevin Harvick right now, he's making his bottom groove work really well through 1 and 2.
Thanks, Jeff. Great to have so many members of our active military on hand way up there in the high seats toward turn number 1. So let's update that, honor that request, and update Danica, who started 4th and is now 19th, the last car on the lead lap, Matt.
Tony Gibson had a lot of confidence coming in tonight. He and Danica had worked a lot, going back to how the car performed at Kansas and how it changed throughout the night, knowing that Charlotte would be much more extreme. But right now, they just cannot work the tightness out of this race car. It will not turn at all.
And she was one of the 8 drivers that took the wave around to get back on the lead lap. Of course, they're going to have to pit earlier than those leaders that made a stop on that last caution.
Kevin Harvick leading by 1.2 seconds. Jeff Hammond sitting back living large with his friends from the U.S. military up there in the high seats. Join NASCAR honoring our armed forces by tweeting or posting your own personal salute. Use hashtag NASCAR salutes or visit NASCAR.com/salute. Kevin Harvick and Jimmy Johnson, between them, they've led 126 laps tonight. They are setting a blistering pace with the goal of putting most of the rest of the field a lap down before this racetrack transitions to nighttime. We talked to the drivers about the difficulty of the length of this race going from daytime into the night.
You know, the track change is one of the biggest things that we have to overcome.
This racetrack in particular has the biggest swing from daytime to night. The temperatures, when they drop, the track gains grip, the cars can go faster.
You've got to be able to adapt to that.
The crew chiefs have their hands full as well as us drivers do.
As long as you can keep up pretty good in the light, usually you have a pretty good shot at night.
The problem is keeping up with Kevin Harvick and Jimmy Johnson, as you watch from Denny Hamlin's onboard camera.
Now watch those first 5 cars. Harvick, Johnson, Boyer, Gordon, and Earnhardt. You can throw a blanket over their times. They're within a half a tenth of each other around this big old racetrack.
Larry, the lights are beginning to come on, but we are still an hour from sunset.
But I will say this, and we're roughly closing in on 200 miles into this race, a third of the way. And right now, I think we're getting back to some consistency. We don't have the conditions we had earlier where you have shade on the front stretch and sun on the back stretch. We're getting in the twilight where now at least the cars should be acting the same way at both ends.
Well, that's sort of my point about the lap times. They're very consistent now, and there's a number of cars that are running real close to each other, those first 5 particularly, but they're stabilized. Their times are in the high 29s pretty consistently.
Join us at Dover, Delaware next Sunday. NASCAR on Fox in the first state, around the 1-mile concrete canyons. We call it the Monster Mile. Come join us, you'll see why.
Like that joint.
Kevin Harvick, one of only 6 cars right this moment, Steve, lapping the track in under 30 seconds.
And Mike, he just told Rodney Childers, his crew chief, he said, my car is a little bit tight, especially in the center.
And I think that the chess match will be, is this racetrack going to get actually looser as we really start to gain grip and the track starts to cool down? That used to not be the way it was, but it seems to be the trends now.
Well, we heard about the 48 early on when you say it was too tight early in the run there. I thought that was a pretty good thing for the 48 team because we know the track's going to loosen up. But here's the thing. When a driver reports in what his car is doing, that doesn't mean that the crew chief and everybody has to panic. That's just information. It's what the car is doing right now. Then the crew chief gets with the engineers, and they kind of look at this race and where it's headed, the trends of this race, and know what adjustments to make.
Brian Vickers in the top 10. His number 55 posted 8th. He's the 3rd Toyota in the race right now. Vickers running 10.5 seconds behind race leader Kevin Harvick. There's his Aaron's Toyota. Driver who had to set out a season due to blood clots. That issue all resolved, and he is happy to be back behind the wheel full time. Right behind him, teammate to Brad Keselowski in 7th, Joey Logano, who's already a 2-time winner this season. This Pennzoil Ford right now is 9th, Krista.
And Mike, Larry, Darrell, what you guys were talking about just a few moments ago is Joey Logano's game plan to a T. Early in the race, talking about being so free, losing grip, being all over the racetrack. But on lap 106, he said, now here it is. This is the best it's been all night. Not panicking, keeping up with your car, keeping up with the track.
I also like what Joey Logano and Todd Gordon did on that second set of green flag pit stops. He hit pit road 5 to 6 laps earlier than Kevin Harvick and Jimmy Johnson. Mike, that's almost 8 to 10 seconds right there that they really bought by putting those fresh tires on earlier.
Gained a bunch of spots that way. Now Jamie McMurray, who won the All-Star race a week ago Saturday night, he's back up in the top 10. Got very emotional in victory lane, telling his 3-year-old son Carter, who was watching from home, he had asked Carter early in the day, if I won $1 million, what would you like? His son said a train set. The next morning, he shows up at the door, coming back from his motor coach at the track with his son's favorite breakfast, pancakes, and a big trophy. And Carter looks at his dad, and as only a 3-year-old can, says, "Where's my train set?" That happened this week.
I bet he got a train set.
You bet.
Now, Danica Patrick in that 10, she just went a lap down. She's one of about 8 drivers that took the wave around. They're going to have to make green flag pit stops here pretty soon.
The Coca-Cola 600 on Fox is sponsored by Coca-Cola, the official soft drink of NASCAR. Coca-Cola, open happiness.
Tweet at Coca-Cola Racing using hashtag #CokePitStop. Every time a Coca-Cola Racing family member makes a stop during tonight's race, you could win tickets to next year's Coke 600 and other great prizes. Drivers that took the wave around are having to come pit side. Casey Kane was just in for his service, Matt.
Mike, a challenging 200 miles so far for Casey Kane. Loose in the first run. Then you saw him have the issue on pit road, and he lost a lap. And then the adjustment, he said, made the car junk. He was very animated, trying to control his emotions. But now they have this car dialed in. He said it's good, except when he gets in traffic, it starts to go away. But they are back in this ballgame.
He's going to have to come from.
He's got a lot of work to do.
Down, yeah.
He might have his car better, but got a lot of work to do.
Remember the 20 drivers that took a wave around on the last caution and did not stop. They are all coming in. Marcus Ambrose, Danica Patrick are in. Now Alex Bowman in the 23 gets loose. Here comes Clint Boyer. Oh boy.
Yeah, that was almost disastrous for the 23 of Bowman. And I don't know, Clint Boyer said, "Matt, I got to get away from this cat."
Matt?
Danica Patrick
caution.
already in. They made the adjustment, Mike. Caution on the track.
148 laps complete. Second caution of the night. This one is for debris in the back straightaway.
Now, Mike, 2 or 3 drivers it really paid off for. They were about to have to make those green flag stops. Eric Almirola, Tony Stewart, and Carl Edwards. They had not pitted yet.
Yeah, they were right in that. I mean, the guys that were starting, in fact, the gals that were starting to pit, if they could have lasted another 2 or 3 laps, they'd be home free.
And let's add to that list Kurt Busch, who had also taken the wave around. He had just gone 1 lap down, so likely he'll be the lucky dog and get that lap back.
He is having a good day. That run he had at Indy, I'm still very impressed with him.
You know, you have to remember, not only is he doing the Memorial Day double, but Chris, the Indy 500 is the first IndyCar race anywhere that Kurt Busch has ever run.
First laps in competition.
And Mike, he did okay. I mean, he started his day in Indianapolis, his first ever try at this. He qualified 12th and completing all 500 miles. Kurt Busch wound up finishing 6th in his first ever Indy 500, knowing he had another attempt at 600 miles tonight here at the Coca-Cola 600. He arrived in Charlotte from Indianapolis. It's about a 55-minute flight, then a chopper ride from Concord Airport over here to the Speedway, said hi to the fans, and then started at 6:20 in the 41 car, was a lap down, worked his way up, and Michael Waltrip looks like he's going to be the lucky dog.
Yeah, I think he's going to get that Aaron's lucky dog, and he's really worked hard on this car, Chris. It's got better and better. He's gotten in a position to have another top 10 finish.
And Michael, the pits are open.
All right, pace car leads them around. Green light at the end of pit road and green flag. That signals the pits are open. They're headed for Steve.
Kevin Harvick said his car is just a little bit tight in the center on this run. He's told Rodney Childers, loosen my car up just a bit. Same situation for Clint Boyer. He said my car got tight on this run. They'll make an air pressure adjustment, Kristen.
Jeff Gordon coming in saying he's really been turning well, but loose taking off. That's a similar problem for his teammate Jimmy Johnson, just a little bit too loose on a restart on the start of a run. He needs to be a little bit tighter, but it's careful to crew chief Checkenhouse. Don't tighten me up too much. I still need to be able to turn and drive in deep.
Stops complete. Kevin Harvick leads the run off pit road. Jimmy Johnson, Clint Boyer. Now, what was interesting to me about that last green flag segment was of the top 10, only 2 drivers ran their fastest lap of the race in that segment. Race leader Kevin Harvick and 5th place Jeff Gordon.
The Coca-Cola 600 on Fox is sponsored by KFC. So many ways to KFC. How do you KFC?
We asked you to show us how you get ready for race day. Here's another KFC social media pit stop to look at how you KFC in your comfort zone for the Coca-Cola 600. All right. Ready for the restart. 12 cars took the wave around. That put Greg Biffle, Kyle Larson, and Austin Dillon back on the lead lap, along with Ryan Newman. So here we go with 16 cars on the lead lap for the restart.
There goes Kyle Busch again in that 18 car. I mean, he's got them 4 and 5 wide coming through 1 and 2.
He gets up against that wall and he just goes, man.
Well, that's the lane Kyle Larson used to win the nationwide race yesterday afternoon. He was up almost against the wall all day. Jimmy Johnson out in front of Kevin Harvick on this restart. They have been the class of the field these entire 153 laps, with Clint Boyer in third. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Matt Kenseth, the Fast Five right now.
Yeah, those two drivers, they've led all but 3 laps of this race.
One car slows, middle of the back straightaway, and everybody has to go around that moving chicane. Somebody had trouble getting off the corner. We'll double check that, but boy, it was a big stack up right there.
Oh, this has been going on ever since the restart here, Mike. This little crowd right in here, I don't know how they've made it 2 laps, let alone they're all over each other. They're sideways. They're 3 wide. It's crazy back in here.
Alex Bowman rockets off the corner this time in the 23. That's Ambrose way up on the outside of the 9. You're riding with Denny Hamlin in the 11. Tense moments on these restarts. It's like you have to pass everybody you can in the first lap and a half. Let's take another look. It's teammates Ryan Truex in the 83 and Alex Bowman in the 23. Truex's car on the bottom is in black, and up top there is Bowman in silver.
I think that's Allmendinger going down the bottom right there. He's been followed by Paul Menard.
That's right. Yeah, it was Truex was the jam in the middle. Allmendinger charging on the bottom, but things packed up there in a hurry.
There were almost several big moments right there.
I know these cars handle pretty good, because as crazy as they get on these restarts and as sideways as some of these guys are, and they don't wreck, they got to handle pretty good.
Jimmy Johnson's Lowe's Patriotic Chevy out in front now by half a second. Kevin Harvick keeping close tabs on the race leader.
And they've been running fairly different lines through the corner, even this soon after pit stops.
Clint Boyer third, trying to hold the bottom of the corner, short way around, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. up for fourth after starting 10th in this race. Then Matt Kenseth, who started 12th. He's the 5th place car. Steve?
And Mike, there's some concern down here in the pits. Apparently, Matt Kenseth has a small hole in the grill, the left front of that race car. In fact, Jason Shapiro, the car chief, is down here in the pits fabricating a piece of sheet metal right now that would replace that hole. So some concern. They thought about coming down pit road. There you see Jason Shapiro. They thought about coming down pit road, Mike, but they didn't want to give up all that track position.
Yeah, you see the hole right above the Y in Camry, just adjacent to the Toyota logo.
Yeah, I think we saw when that happened. It was going down the front stretch off into turn 1. I think it maybe was Ryan Truex that he had run up on and got in the back of him just a little bit.
And that's how sensitive these cars are. I mean, that doesn't look like much, but that can make a huge difference.
There it is right there.
A huge difference in the downforce on that nose, which will keep the car from turning if it's getting a little lift in it.
Especially at the speed you're running around here. And as you mentioned, it's only going to get faster.
Yes.
Jeff Gordon closing. Remember, back spasms kept him out of the final practice, but no comments of anything amiss or uncomfortable for the 6th place car. And Brian Vickers in 7th.
I just can't tell. Back problems, when you get in a race car, it's nice and warm, and you're sitting in a seat that's custom fit to your body. That's as comfortable as you can possibly be.
Vickers and Gordon just ran their personal fastest laps of the race. Here's Joey Logano. And a tire rub is reported on the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse. There you see the right rear, a little smoke there.
Somebody's gotten into the left rear of that car, and looks like it got a little fender rub.
He might have had a skirmish with Landon Castle, the car who is directly behind him right now. And now caution.
Turn 2, back it down. Caution's out, back it down. Fan on.
A lot of smoker in turn 2, and that's David Gilliland. Whoa.
Yeah, he's been in the wall hard.
That's a huge break for Ricky Stenhouse Jr., though, who probably was going to have to come to pit road, not to mention drivers like Ryan Newman and a couple of others that took the wave around on that last caution.
And don't forget Matt Kenseth, who can now repair that hole in his grill.
David Gilliland pounded the wall. When that tire came apart, it just shredded the right front fender. Well, in this sport, everyone's misfortune.
Getting into the corner.
You can see the right side of that car. He has pounded that wall hard. Flattened the whole right side of the car. That's a pretty hard hit.
Well, Mike, all that hard running after restarts finally paid off for Kyle Busch in that 18. He gets the free pass. He's now back on the lead lap.
And remember the hit that David Gilliland took a couple of weeks ago in Kansas. Had a hard crash with Justin Allgaier.
Yes, he did. And Gilliland is the first car to go to the garage tonight.
Yeah, you always wonder, you watch Kyle Busch, you say, why does he do that? Why does he do this? Why does he want to drive like that? It just paid off for him.
Kyle Busch trying to move up onto our list of Toyota top performers. He's at 17th, one lap down. When we restart, he will be back on the lead lap. And let's go back and so we look at Clint Boyer, who is third and the leading Toyota right now. Go back and pick up that on his green flag pit stop before the last caution, Justin Allgaier got caught by the speeding police on pit road. Had to come back and make another run down the pit lane. Lost a lot of time there. Steve Burns, pit road's open.
Kevin Harvick says his car is better, Mike, but it's still tight. He wants them to loosen it up. They'll make a chassis adjustment. Now, Clint Boyer said when I try to run a line like Kevin Harvick, I can't do it. I get too loose. They're going to take just 2 tires. Krista.
And the track continues to change for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He had said on the last run his car was just a little bit tight in 1 and 2. Now the issue he's talking about as the crew works on his 88 Superman machine, he's a little free into turn 3. Meanwhile, his teammate Jimmy Johnson telling crew chief Chad Knaus, you did it. You gave me the ability to drive in deeper, and I didn't have to sacrifice anything on that run.
So what we're seeing now with only 10 laps on their tires and this track gaining some grip, a few rolling of the dice there, 2 right side tires only.
Differences in strategy. Brad Keselowski does not pit, and he takes the lead.
The Coca-Cola 600 on Fox is sponsored by Coca-Cola, the official soft drink of NASCAR. Coca-Cola, open happiness. Beautiful evening, beautiful sunset here in Concord, North Carolina. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, proudly supporting our military for 100 years. Show your support for our troops at Goodyear.com. Goodyear, official tire of NASCAR. The sidewalls of those Goodyear racing tires being used on all the cars tonight have a Support Our Troops logo on them. We certainly share in that sentiment. There's that gorgeous sunset, 8:30 sunset tonight. Now Saturday, full day of MLB action beginning with the Braves Marlins on Fox Sports 1, then Baseball Night in America on Fox. You'll see Rays versus Red Sox or Pirates Dodgers. Our MLB doubleheader begins Saturday 3:30 Eastern on Fox Sports 1 and continues at 7 p.m. Eastern on Fox. There's a 5-star tire for you from Stewart Haas Racing. One of their drivers is Kurt Busch. One of those Tony Stewart, Gene Haas Chevrolets. And remember, he had to start in the back because he missed the mandatory drivers meeting, which is held 2 hours prior to the event. He is up to 15th, Matt.
Mike, NASCAR, long known as being one big family sport, and Scott McNair, a physician within the Hendrick Motorsports camp, has actually been helping Kurt Busch. Now, one of the keys was trying to keep him mentally alert and keep fatigue down. So what the team is doing under his direction, they have made small cubes of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, handing that through the window at every pit stop, trying to keep the carbs and protein up, so that way he can make the entire 600 miles. And for kids at home who always say they doubt their parents when they say peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are good for you, see, just go ahead and listen to Dr. Scott.
And remember, he was in a backup car. He crashed hard on Monday, was in a backup car. And what about this guy? You think maybe it's time for him to have a little, we're getting close to halfway. How about a little something to eat here? What's it going to be, bud?
Yeah, getting a little snack.
Almost not enough time to eat it under caution.
No,
even.
Yeah, because we're going back to green.
Car's handling good enough, he might be able to eat and drive all at the same time. I don't know.
Brad Keselowski did not pit. Clint Boyer got 2 tires right alongside. So did Brian Vickers and Matt Kenseth, the 2 drivers in the second row. Here we go.
But that does give a whole new meaning to fast food, I will say that.
It does. Keselowski gets away out into clean air. 3 wide behind him. Martin Truex in the middle. The black car on the bottom. Jamie McMurray up on the outside. They battle Joey Logano and Carl Edwards.
You know, Keselowski and Paul Wolf, they're kind of contrarians. You think back to the race at Kansas. They had the whole field a lap down because of pit strategy at Kansas.
But I do believe the way that this track has cooled down, that was a great time with only 10 laps on your tires to maybe roll the dice and try staying out or just right side tires.
Jimmy Johnson dives to the inside on Matt Kenseth.
Whoa. Look at that thing shoot through the middle of the corner.
Now, one thing about Matt Kenseth, you see they were able, under that caution, changing 2 right side tires. No longer is the hole there. They've actually made a patch and close that hole up on the front end of Matt Kenseth's car.
But Larry, they've been adjusting on the 48 car. They've been doing stuff with the left rear spring rubber. They have got that thing flying through the middle of the corner. Oh my gosh, did you see the movie put on Matt Kenseth?
Kevin Harvick slides up in front of Brian Vickers. Remember, Vickers just 2 tires on that stop. Jimmy Johnson coming in the 48.
But Brad Keselowski out there with 10 lap more older tires than any of these guys. He just ran his fastest lap of the race a couple of laps ago.
But I think he is finding out what Jamie McMurray did in the All-Star race. You don't stop. It's okay if you have the track position in front.
And a good car to go with it.
Yeah, you got to have a good handling car to do these things, you know, to make those kind of decisions, and they do have a good car tonight. When you got a great race car, you can it gives you so many options, so many things you can do.
Kyle Busch got the free pass on that last restart. Got 4 tires, and boy, he has been picking them up and putting them down. And you see him in traffic. He just got past the CRC Chevy of Landon Castle. Here comes his Toyota. He was taking them 2 wide, 3 wide, and usually on the outside right up near the wall.
Yeah, watch that 18 car. He's really, really good on these restarts and on 4 fresh tires, but I'm not sure he has a real good car into the run.
It's hard to get a roll on guys to pass them because the top's not fast enough yet. Being behind them, all it does is just kills your tires, you know? I mean, the more you run around here following the guy in front of his tire track, your tires are going to go away, right?
Doing a good job of being patient, just racing the race. We got a long ways to go, buddy.
That kind of is the tale of the story I was trying to tell. It seems like he's got a fast car, but he can't go anywhere with it. He seems like he gets hung up back here, and I don't know if it's not handling well. Maybe it's that bubble of air that we hear about.
But he's getting into a big knot right now as we go back up front with Brad Keselowski, Clint Boyer running 1-2, Kevin Harvick third, Jimmy Johnson, Brian Vickers, all within 3 seconds the race lead.
And Darrell, I am getting a report that Kyle Busch is a little bit too tight in traffic. In other words, his front tires aren't gripping when he's back there in that dirty air.
And he just had to go 3 wide, Darrell, to get this pack.
I know. I was screaming silently.
Maybe he was too.
I think he was.
Allgaier on the top side, right behind Kyle Busch. And now he moves in on Brian Scott. Casey Mears trying to follow up through.
Yeah, most of these drivers that he's sliced and dicing with, they're actually not on the lead lap.
Carl Edwards in ninth. Jamie McMurray, the All-Star winner, in 10th. McMurray is a big race winner. He went on a tear for Chip Ganassi a couple of years ago. Won 3 of NASCAR's Big 4 all in the same season. Pulled his belts up tight and got a big win in the All-Star race 1 week ago. Can he complete here on Memorial Day weekend and win the All-Star race and the Coca-Cola 600 in the same year? It's been done before.
That's something we sort of talked about in the pre-race show. Remember momentum? Does the momentum from last week carry over to this week? If you have momentum, you need to take advantage of it. You don't want to just have a big event and then just let it go away. You want to try to build on that momentum.
3 of those 7 drivers you just saw there, they did go on to win the championship that year, including DW in 1985.
I tell you, that was the All-Star race was a turning point in our career, in our year in 1985.
Brad Keselowski has led 18 laps tonight. He's out front of Clint Boyer and Kevin Harvick. Here's a closer look at today's race action with Sprint. Jimmy Johnson has led the most laps so far today. Currently 3rd. Draft off your family and save with a Sprint family plan, where up to 10 of your friends and family get unlimited talk, text, and a gig of data for as little as $25 a month each on the Sprint network. Visit your Sprint store. Start your family today. Happy connecting, race fans. Clint Boyer was 3rd, but while we were away, made a pit stop for a vibration, Steve.
Yeah, unexpected stop, Mike. The team looking at the right side tires. They didn't change 4 tires this time. They stayed with right side tires. They just told Clint the tires look fine, the wheels are fine, but Clint's reporting that he still has a vibration.
Yeah, well, contrary to what the Beach Boys says, there is no good vibration. That's going to lead to something.
But Darrell, I know you're desperate. You're trying to lose as little bit of ground as you possibly can. You've got a vibration. The best thing to do is change 4 tires.
I agree, Larry. I was kind of puzzled why they didn't go ahead and put the left sides on. That means they'll probably have to come back to pit road.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. going past Brian Vickers. That'll move Earnhardt up into the top 5. Early in this run, Kevin Harvick reported a vibration, but it resolved itself. 18th place, yesterday's winner in the 300-mile race, Kyle Larson, and Casey Kane, who all night long has been trying to overcome his entry onto pit road when he could not get to his pit. He was blocked by a car exiting the pit in front of him and had to do a go-around and come back in. So Kane trying to work his way back to the front. He is 18th.
Yeah, he and Kyle Larson in 42 both are 1 lap down. We've talked about Clint Boyer. Right now, the way he's running on the racetrack, he's the first driver 1 lap down.
Yeah, and quite honestly, Kane and Larson both are showing enough speed that if they could get back on the lead lap, they got fast cars.
Brad Keselowski driving for Roger Penske, who came within a car length of victory at Indianapolis earlier today with Helio Castroneves in a thrilling finish. Brian Hunter-Ray the winner.
What about Andretti Motorsports? 4 cars in the top 6.
Yep.
I mean, Michael Andretti had a whale of a day at Indy today.
Both Roger Penske with Keselowski and Logano, and Chip Ganassi with Kyle Larson and Jamie McMurray. Active at both Indianapolis and Charlotte on this Memorial Day weekend, trying to win them both.
Now remember, he's got his hands full talking about Brad Keselowski with Kevin Harvick right down that 4, but he stayed out the last caution. He last pitted on lap 151. Based on how far he's been running, as right now I think he's about to lose the lead, he's going to have to pit somewhere around lap 200 to 205, which is only about 12, 13 laps from now.
As they lap past Joe Nemechek, Kevin Harvick goes back to the lead, one of only 3 drivers to lead tonight. And as you predicted, here is Clint Boyer back in, still with a vibration.
Guess what they'll do this time,
Steve?
And Clint Boyer's been really upset about that vibration, Mike. He just said, I've got to come back down to pit road. They put left side tires on this time.
Oh, he should be.
207 laps to go in the Coca-Cola 600. We'll be right back with our Liberty Mutual mid-race report.
The Coca-Cola 600 on Fox is sponsored by Toyota. Let's go places. By Sprint, get the HTC One M8 Harman Kardon Edition, exclusive from Sprint. And by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Responsibility. What's your policy? It's time for the Liberty Mutual mid-race report. Hi, Chris Myers, trackside at the Coca-Cola 600 here on Fox. And glad to have you watching this Memorial Day weekend. The pole sitter, Jimmy Johnson, and last year's winner of this race, Kevin Harvick, have dominated the first 300 miles of this race. They've led all but 30 of the 200 laps. Halfway home through this, Darrell, who are you keeping an eye on?
Hey, I like cars that dominate, and that's what that 4 car does. Kevin Harvick, they have got this thing dialed in. Keep your eye on Kevin Harvick.
I'm going to keep my eyes on Jamie McMurray. He started back in the 26th spot. He was a lap down. Got the Aaron's Lucky Dog back on the lead lap. Now he's up to 7th, guys. This car is really fast. Looking for him to become the 8th guy to sweep the All-Star race and the 600. Larry Mack, what are you thinking?
Michael, who would ever believe we would be at race number 12 and Jimmy Johnson, that got his 6th championship last year and won 6 races, would have a goose egg in the win column? Krista, I think tonight Jimmy Johnson changes that number from 6 wins at Charlotte to 7.
Well, keep an eye on his teammate. Regan Smith is still in the 24 pit standing by. I don't think he's going to be needed. Jeff Gordon once won the Southern 500, even though he was sick and throwing up in the race car all day long. Ray Evernham, his old crew chief, said as long as his heart is beating and he's breathing, he is going to race. Right now, he's just a little loose off 4. That's his only issue.
Krista, Brad Keselowski has now slipped to 3rd, but he's led a bunch. When he won here last October, he only led less than a dozen laps. He and Paul Wolfe made a contrary decision, a 4-tire stop at the end of the race to get him to victory lane.
And Mike, the global eyes of auto racing watching Kurt Busch, who finished 6th at the Indy 500 earlier today, landed in Charlotte just before 5 o'clock, started at the rear of the field, worked his way up to 10th, currently running 13th. He's hopeful to complete 1,100 miles in one day and possibly win the Coca-Cola 600. Also, Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to win his first ever points race on this track. Told us on the pre-race show, I won an all-star race here as a rookie. I want to win a meaningful points race, focusing, hanging in the top 5 for much of this race. And Kevin Harvick used to dread coming to this place. His wife Delaney said, lose the negative attitude. He did. He's won 2 of the last 3, and he's your leader. That is your Liberty Mutual mid-race report. We're glad you're watching NASCAR on Fox.
NASCAR on Fox saluting our nation's military as the Coca-Cola 600 rolls on. Only once has the mid-race leader gone to victory lane this season. Kevin Harvick back at Phoenix. He is your race leader, 2.9 seconds up on Jimmy Johnson. Then Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Brian Vickers are the top 5. 4 Chevrolets, 1 Toyota. In the top 5 spots, Brad Keselowski drifted back to 5th and then had to make a pit stop. He's back out there with new tires. And Paul Menard just leaving pit road after a stop. Well, as we've talked about, Clint Boyer had to come in twice for a vibration, first for right sides and then for lefts, and was anything but pleased.
We got to look at this tape for it. That's the game changer. He knows. Nothing's loose. Nothing. I know. He could have answered that. He's hitting the game, man. We're the fastest car on tires. You never know how this is going to cycle out. Got a long ways to go, man. Fastest car by half-tenth every lap.
Clint Boyer trying to regroup here as Kevin Harvick comes in.
Well, Larry made the point, Mike. When you got a loose wheel, put 4 tires on it.
Steve?
Well, Mike, they're going to make 2 adjustments on this stop, a track bar adjustment and a wedge adjustment, as now they're starting to chase the racetrack just a bit.
So Harvick and Jimmy Johnson are the first of the leaders to hit pit road. Krista.
And this is a bit early, Mike. Jimmy Johnson coming on the radio saying a tire coming apart. The crew jumped up on the wall to take care of it. There'll be a 4-tire change, but this was earlier than expected due to a tire. Also, his teammate Jeff Gordon is on pit road. Jeff Gordon saying he's loose off of 2 and 4. 2 is worse, but this is the first time all race that he's been loose off of turn 4.
Austin Dillon, Danica Patrick, Casey Mears. Landon Castle also in. Matt Kenseth, now Tony Stewart, and because the leaders came in, Larry, everybody's headed for pit road.
Yeah, you cannot give it up, which I think if this cycles through, the strategy's still going to work for Brad Keselowski and Paul Wolfe because they got such a jump with those 4 fresh tires.
And don't be surprised, Mike. The speeds are picking up. The sun's gone down. We got look here. We got a problem with the 42 car. He's got a flat tire. He's headed up the hill. Yikes! Can he keep it out of the wall?
And he'll make it to pit road.
Wow.
Krista.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. coming in, he said there was something about this run where I got more and more loose. He said it confused him. He wasn't expecting it. So expect them to make some changes to help tighten them up. Matt?
And Chris, you can see the 42 car, Kyle Larson, coming down pit road. You can see also the tire is just strung out from that carcass. It's caught up on the air gun. The changer having a considerable amount of time. Now it's all caught up, thinking he's got to go back. There he goes. Going to try one more time now. Just like we saw several tires back in the All-Star race where it starts to just come unwound. That's what's happened to the right front of the 42. Steve?
Well, Matt, Justin Allgaier comes down pit road. Carl Edwards saying, I'm still too free in the turns. 4 tires and an air pressure adjustment for Carl Edwards.
Here's a look at Carl coming onto pit road. That's Josh Wise just ahead. Whoa, and Wise's pit is right there, and Carl's is not.
Yeah, Mike, the reason the 48 had a tire problem. The 42 had a tire problem. We see these guys getting into each other here on pit road. That really hurt Carl when he was trying to make his pit stop. But the speeds are picking up. We're putting more pressure on the right front tire right now. Wouldn't surprise me to see some more guys have a little bit of a tire problem.
We've cycled through the green flag pit stops, and actually Brad Keselowski in the 2 is running second right now behind this leader here, Kevin Harvick, in this 4.
Now, the only thing about Keselowski is if we continue under green, he'll need to come pit side again 7 or 8 laps before Kevin Harvick will need fuel. Whoa, Jimmy Johnson, Brad Keselowski. Wow. And we're told a problem for Danica Patrick. Here's Matt.
Mike, an issue with the 10 car, Danica Patrick. She has tried to cycle through the electrical system. That has not helped. The engine is down at least 1 cylinder. Tony Gibson told her just to ride it out as long as she can. It's going to be a disappointing end to a lot of excitement coming off that top 10 in Kansas.
Yeah, you can see, Matt, that the car is just dying down the straightaway, which tells you that it's good through the corners, but when it gets on the straightaway, she's got a cylinder or something going away in the engine.
A 4th place start for Patrick.
You see Kurt Busch in the 41. He pitted about 2 or 3 laps after his teammate Kevin Harvick in the 4. He's fighting to stay on the lead lap right now.
I think, Larry, we're just going through that period of the race. We're halfway through this race, right at it, and things are happening. I mean, tire problems, engine problems, not surprising to me.
And Darrell, we're down to what could be a 3-stop race should we stay under green. The next pit stop, I think you're going to have to get aggressive again with changes because we're going to be in the darkness.
Exactly.
Only 3 caution flags in the first half of this race, 2 of them for debris, 1 for David Gilliland, who cut a tire and he hit the wall and has gone to the garage. The only other retiree from the race, Reed Sorensen, with engine failure.
Yeah, I just heard the 10 car go by, and it is really, the engine is really rattling really bad right now. So I don't look for that thing to last long. But Mike, the speeds have picked up considerably, and the track has speeded up considerably. You're just loading the car up, loading everything about the car, the tires, the motor, everything is just under more pressure, and it's been all night.
Caution is out.
Caution.
Lap 223. Debris on the back straightaway. Earlier we saw Kyle Larson shred a tire. And there's some pieces of it there. Not sure if that's the debris that called for the caution. But we are under yellow, and Kurt Busch will receive the free pass as the HenrickCars.com Chevy of Justin Allgaier goes behind the wall. Here's Jeff Hammond.
Mike, Darrell, everybody was talking about how chaotic it was down on pit road. You should have been up here a moment ago with the spotters during those green flag pit stop. They were running up and down this wall, waving their arms. Everybody trying to let the other spotters know, we're coming to pit road to let your crew chief know so we don't have a problem. We're trying to get in the pits and have running each other like we saw the 99 and Josh Wise do on pit road. A lot of communication going on up here, a lot of chaos, you might say. I mean, this thing right here is a long ways from being over. These spotters are really doing overtime work already.
Thanks, Jeff. The man you saw hand in the air is Rick Corelli, former standout in the Truck Series, now up on the spotter's perch. Look at the back of that 41.
Oh, yeah. He got a haze of smoke coming off the back of that thing.
And then it dissipates in the straightaway. Not sure what's up with Kurt Busch there, but we'll find out when he comes pit side.
I think we'll see another mixed bag of strategy because these drivers don't have that many laps on their tires. I think we'll see some take 4, some take 2, maybe even 1 or 2 stay out. Steve.
Well, Larry Mack, for Kevin Harvick, it isn't so much about tires as it is keeping up with the racetrack. Kevin's saying that his car is just a little bit too tight in traffic, so they're going to make another adjustment. Matt Yoakum.
And Paul Wolfe told Brad Keselowski, you're going to see 2 and 4 tire strategies up down that pit road. They're going to go with 2 right side tires, Krista, on the 2.
And for Jeff Gordon, that is probably the call as well. They talked about possibly staying out. They said, if we come, it will just be for 2 tires. But you see them work around the side. They're going with 4. The 24 goes with 4. Jimmie Johnson knew he was going to come in because even though that run was only 10 laps, he told Chad Knaus he just got too loose.
Out he comes along with his Hendrick Chevy teammate Jeff Gordon, who got 4 tires. And we heard that Kevin Harvick, who lapped his teammate Kurt Busch a little bit ago, radioed in and said Kurt has a tire rub.
The Coca-Cola 600 on Fox is sponsored by Sunoco, the official fuel of NASCAR, and by Lowe's. Lowe's, never stop improving.
Getting ready for the restart, Dale Earnhardt Jr. did not pit on this caution. Here's why.
Hey, Dale, if they all pit, I want you to stay out and be the leader. If anybody does stay out, I want you to come. We're going to get 2. We've only run like 6.5 hard right there.
So Earnhardt will bring them to the green flag. Brian Vickers doesn't get going, so Earnhardt has a free shot at turn 1. Jamie McMurray on the inside for second place. Vickers up high with Brad Keselowski, and then Martin Truex Jr.
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Brian Vickers, Jamie McMurray, they stayed out, as well as Tony Stewart in the 14, but he faded fast there on that restart.
I tell you who's not fading fast right now. That one car, McMurray, he is closed right up on the back bumper of Superman there, and he might be aiming to get a little run on him here.
And Darrell, even though this is a different car from what he won the Sprint All-Star race, this is getting the time of night when that car, they were spot on the other night.
It did. It came alive in that final 10 laps. You got to believe, Larry, if you come over here last Saturday night and won that race, you should at least be able to run up front and be in contention to win tonight.
Matt Kenseth coming hard on the inside. He jumped under Martin Truex at turn 3. Truex trying him back again as they come down the front straightaway. Kenseth got himself a great restart to move up into the top 5 as Earnhardt and McMurray single file it up front. Here comes Kenseth on the high side again. He's going to get another one and move up to 4th.
I mean, this has always been a great track for Jamie McMurray in driving that one car. He has 2 wins here above and beyond the All-Star race. Remember, got his first career win here in October of 2002. Second career start, subbing for the injured Sterling Marlin.
You got it in right now, Larry. If you think about it, look at the guys that are running up front. These are the guys that ran up front in the All-Star race.
Martin Truex Jr. in that 78 car, he and his crew chief Todd Berrier went with just right side tires, where Kevin Harvick in the 4, Jimmie Johnson in the 48, 4 fresh tires.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. up front. How about a NASCAR on Fox? Crank it up. front of oncoming traffic. Marcus Ambrose.
Caution's out.
Landon Castle, Danica Patrick spins from contact with Brian Scott. Fifth caution flag of the night comes at lap 235.
Now, Danica had engine problems, and her troubles just got a little bit worse. Got a lot of rear damage. 33 car here torn up. Got the 98 down here of Josh Wise sitting in the middle of, well, off the track now, but a lot of cars involved in that little skirmish.
Scott got into the back of Patrick in that one as they came off turn number 4, trying to avoid the 9 of Marcus Ambrose. Let's ride along with the Aussie, who had a wild ride in turn 4.
Caution's out.
And remember,
still rolling. Nobody's hit us yet, guys. Nobody hit us. One behind you.
I think that final hit may have been from Josh Wise. There's Ambrose way up the track.
But remember, we watched Marcus early in the night. I mean, he was all over the track, loose. He's been and spun out a couple of times, but was able to save it, but couldn't save it that time.
He's been flirting with that all night long.
Yeah, he has.
Boy, Allmendinger just missed Ambrose. Okay, Landon Castle got turned around by Josh Wise, and it was Brian Scott who got into Danica Patrick. So pit road will be open. Here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. leading Brian Vickers, Brad Keselowski, Jeff Gordon, and more.
Yeah, Vickers and Earnhardt, they almost had to pit, Krista, because they stayed out that last time.
Well, especially Brian Vickers, Larry, because he took 2 right side tires back on lap 165. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and crew chief Steve Letarte making the call for just the 2 rights this time.
2 for Jeff Gordon. Carl Edwards heads out. Eric Almirola. On the last restart, the first car with 4 fresh tires was Matt Kenseth, and he rocketed from 11th to 4th in 2 laps. We're back under caution at Charlotte.
162 laps to go in the Coca-Cola 600 with Michael Waltrip, Chris Myers, Jamie McMurray, Matt Kenseth rolling through as Kevin Harvick and Jimmy Johnson have led much of the first half. McMurray, your leader. Remember, he won the All-Star race last week on this very track. Meanwhile, the day started with Kurt Busch arriving in Charlotte after a 6th place finish at the Indy 500. Started at the back of the field. Here on lap 4, Danica Patrick, her best start of a non-restrictor plate race, passing Brad Keselowski for second. Lap 34, green flag pit stops.
Yeah, it's tough when you're pitting under green, trying to get in and out of your pits, and that was Casey Kane missing his, and things heated up after that, Chris. A fire on pit road.
We've only had 5 cautions in this race. On lap 164, we had David Gilliland, later Marcus Ambrose.
Stand in front of you, back it down, back it down, back it down. He's in the middle, on the bottom. Go to the top, go to the top. Stand on it, stand on it, stand on it. Throttle.
Idiots. And really, who the hell did not see that coming?
A lot of them, about 5 people behind you.
Sometimes you got to look in your mirror to miss a wreck, Chris, and that was Danica's case. There were 3 or 4 of them wrecking behind her, and they ran in the back of her car. But her engine's hurt anyway, so bad to worse, I guess, huh?
So McMurray, yes, leading Matt Kenseth. Matt Kenseth won the most races last year, but is yet to win this year. And then there's Kevin Harvick, who's led the most laps in this race, 100, but he says his car is not good in traffic on exit.
But now he's moved up to the 3rd spot, so he's going to have some cleaner air. It looked like he was mortal when he was back in 7th or 8th, but when he got to the front, he drove away from everybody. Jamie McMurray, I'm so impressed with this car, being able to fight through traffic. That's what he's done well. We'll see if he can hold the lead now that he's got it.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. leading for the 2nd time moments ago, who's hung around in the top 5, top 10 all afternoon, now evening here, as we look at our Ram race summary. And 17 cars on the lead lap. We mentioned the 5 cautions and 6 different leaders, 18 lead changes. Your lap leaders, Kevin Harvick, followed by Jimmy Johnson and Brad Keselowski.
Yeah, and as you race into the night, we've talked about it all day long. Dale Jr. said we couldn't overemphasize how much the track changes. Kevin Harvick and Jimmy Johnson looked unbeatable early in the going. It'll be interesting to see if their crew chiefs can make the adjustment so they can be that way at the end.
Jeff Gordon has not commented about his back during the race tonight. Remember, he had those spasms. He's been in the hunt in the top 10 much of the afternoon, evening. Every weekday, NASCAR Race Hub brings you the best coverage, biggest names, and the best access. It's the daily show of record for NASCAR Nation. Catch NASCAR Race Hub weekdays 5 Eastern on Fox Sports 1, also streaming live on Fox Sports Go. And to find Fox Sports 1 or your provider for Fox Sports 1, go to foxsports1.com as soon as you can. Let's head back upstairs, rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Thanks, Chris. And on this weekend where we salute our nation's military, one soldier stands out. He's Marine Staff Sergeant Liam Dwyer from Litchfield, Connecticut. This weekend, that's him on the right, and you see the prosthetic leg. He lost it above the knee in Afghanistan. An IED explosion 3 years ago. Well, he and co-driver Tom Long drove their Mazda MX-5 to victory this weekend at his home track, Lime Rock Park, in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge. Attaboy.
That's amazing.
Fantastic.
Good job, buddy.
Freedom Autosport and Mazda have been backing his return to racing. Great job. Jamie McMurray, first of 7 cars that stayed out on this caution. McMurray, Kenseth, Harvick, Johnson, Truex, Kyle Busch, and Logano stayed out.
Jamie McMurray has actually stayed out the last 2 cautions. He last pitted on lap 217, but he still can probably go another 20 laps.
But we saw him do that in the All-Star race. They didn't change left side tires for like 40-some laps. Well, these restarts, so I don't know how they manage them. I mean, it looks like
here comes
rush hour traffic.
Kyle Busch up high around turn 2 once again, and now he's a threat. He's in the top half dozen as he goes to work on Martin Truex, running that high groove. McMurray the leader, Kenseth second, Harvick third, Johnson fourth, Truex, Busch, Logano. There's your battle.
This is crazy. I watch these guys and say, oh, they're going to wreck. Oh, no, they're going to wreck. No, they made it. No, they're going to wreck.
Logano inside. And Carl Edwards all but made it 3-5 with his 99.
Sparks are flying.
I think Carl Edwards in that 99 is taking advantage of 4 fresh tires on that last pit stop.
That's what we saw Matt Kenseth do on the last caution flag. And he went through the field like a hot knife through butter, all the way up to 4th place before the yellow wave began. Car Noir, turn 1, bounces off and keeps going. Ryan Truex.
Car didn't turn. I don't know if it looked like something may have happened to it. The 83 car looked like it went straight.
No caution, and they come to the line once again. McMurray, but now 2nd place under fire as here goes Kyle Busch and Jeff Gordon at it for 8th place.
Like always, have to give Kyle Busch an attaboy. He is just driving as hard as he can go and doing a whale of a job. I don't know if he has the fastest car out there or not, but he sure is driving the wheels off of it. I know that.
Jeff Gordon at 24, he's one of the drivers that took just right side tires. Kyle Busch, the 18, actually stayed out.
8th place at stake here. Ryan Newman's there. Dale Earnhardt Jr. Brian Vickers in the 55 and a resurgent Eric Almirola in the 43. Boy, Jr. in the 88 got a good run there.
You know, we see a bunch of new names in the top 10 or so here, but the 2 names or 3 names really has been constant, has been the 4, the 20, and the 48. They've been constantly in the front all night long, but we've had a lot of new players added to the program.
As Larry mentioned, Jamie McMurray has stayed out on both the last 2 cautions, but guess what? McMurray just ran his fastest lap of the race. And so did Matt Kenseth, who sits in 3rd.
Well, Jamie McMurray won $1 million last week. They can afford to put tires on it if they want to. I'm sure of that. But that was a strategy that really worked good for them last week in the All-Star race. Working good tonight.
Kenseth and Jimmy Johnson running pretty identical lap times right now. Third and fourth.
They're pretty much on the equal tires. They stayed out the last caution. The caution before, both these drivers changed 4 tires.
I think Carl Edwards in the 99 has probably made the best use of those 4 new tires, coming from 12th to 7th on this so far short green flag run. Brad Keselowski, on the other hand, has dropped to 14th.
And Carl Edwards was one of those drivers that got lapped in the first 100 laps and then took the wave around on that first caution.
He was just waiting for the sun to go down.
Now Clint Boyer, the 15, is 1 lap down. He's trying to become the first car a lap down, put him in the lucky dog position.
Yeah, he's got to catch Kane. The 5 car is the first car a lap down. If he can catch him, get in front of him, then he's got a shot. And we know his car is fast because his crew chief told him he had a fast car.
Fastest car on new tires is what he was told. Brian Newman on the lead lap.
So is Tony Stewart. We haven't said much about smoke tonight, but Tony's hanging in there. He's 15th.
So things are heating up in Charlotte, where we have 150 laps, 225 miles to go in the Coca-Cola 600.
The Coca-Cola 600 on Fox is sponsored by Sprint. Get the HTC1 M8 Harman Kardon Edition, exclusive from Sprint.
Here's a closer look at tonight's race action with Sprint. Kevin Harvick has led the most laps so far tonight. Save with a Sprint family plan, where up to 10 friends and family can get unlimited talk, text, and data for as little as $25 a month each on the Sprint network. Go to sprint.com/speed to start your family. There's the front end of Jamie McMurray's car. He is in the lead, but just a few laps ago, he picked up a trash bag or something on the front of that car.
Now you see it.
Got up behind Landon Castle, changed the air pressure on the nose of his car. And now you don't.
And now you don't.
Yeah, he had reported that the water temp had climbed to about 250, which the biggest thing is that's a pressurized system that you don't start losing the water.
The only time you want something like that to happen is just 3 laps to go in the Daytona 500. Right. That's the only time.
Deja vu all over again. Look who's running 1, 2, 3. And look at the finish of the Sprint All-Star race. Jamie McMurray, Kevin Harvick, Matt Kenseth, 1, 2, 3. Same as the All-Star finish 1 week ago. But it's been a long night in Charlotte for Kurt Busch. A left rear shock absorber problem for Kurt. How are they addressing it, Matt?
Mike, they were trying to make other adjustments so that way they wouldn't have to pull the car per NASCAR behind the wall to fix the broken left rear shock. But his concern now is something completely different. He says he's down at least 2 cylinders in that 41 machine. Right now he says it's not going to last much longer.
No, I just heard him go by a Matt, and it just sounds exactly like Danica's does. They've broken something in the valve train.
He ran all 500 miles at Indianapolis. 890 racing miles today and tonight for the Las Vegas driver and former Sprint Cup champion Kurt Busch, new to the Stewart-Haas team this year.
You think you go to Indy and, you know, that's like foreign territory. You go there and you have a great day, finish 6th, come here and be a piece of cake, right? This is what I always do. This is my day job.
But with the pace this race is showing, I just feel like engine attrition is going to rear its head a lot in these last 200 miles.
Oh, it already has. I mean, you look, and of course, it's been the Stewart-Haas cars, 2 of them already, the 41 and the 10, and we know this place. Think about the laps that have been run over here. Practice, qualifying, and then a 600-mile race. We're talking about 700, 800 miles on these engines.
And a lot of these drivers were not bashful in yesterday's practice running laps.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. caught Joey Logano. Now, Logano last pitted a caution before Earnhardt's last pit stop, so the 88 has 12 less laps on its tires than Logano's Ford. Jamie McMurray continues to hold everybody off.
Now, once again, he has not pitted since lap 217. We're at lap 263. We've had a number of cautions in there, which helps the fuel mileage. I think within the next 6 to 8 laps, he'll have to pit. But Steve, Kevin Harvick is already in.
Yeah, Larry Mack, Kevin Harvick had said that his car had gotten pretty tight in traffic. Jamie McMurray, on the other hand, you're watching, he should be hitting pit road right now. He hasn't said much at all about how his car is handling. He likes it pretty well right now, except that it had gotten a little bit hot, and you see Harvick.
He's led the most laps so far tonight, Steve, but that pit stop will drop him back, well, just out of the top 15 for now.
I'd like to see a time on that stop. It's kind of hard for us to tell from here. He's in that first pit coming in on him, but it didn't look all that great.
Now, Mike, at this point with 136 laps to go, it is now a 2-stop race for all drivers.
So Matt Kenseth currently second. He is 2.4 seconds off the lead. Jimmy Johnson has led 89 laps tonight after starting from the pole. He is 4 seconds behind Jamie McMurray in third. His Hendrick Motorsports teammate Jeff Gordon 5.3 seconds back of the leader. And that little single car team from Denver, Colorado, Barney Visser's team for Martin Truex Jr. in the 78, carrying the Colorado Freedom Memorial. Remember, it's on the hood of that Chevrolet. Martin Truex sits fifth, 6.5 seconds back. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been working on Joey Logano and makes the pass for 6th place.
Logano's another guy we haven't spoken a lot about tonight, but he's been very consistent in the top 5 or 6 here. Got a good run going.
And he and his crew chief, Todd Gordon, they've been working the strategy. 2 tires, staying out at different points.
And they have 2 victories in the bank already this season. He and Kevin Harvick are the only ones. Carl Edwards carrying our Ford camera. Currently 8th. He got lapped in the first long green flag run, as did his Roush Fenway teammates, but he has rebounded nicely to run in the top 10. Brian Vickers running the Aaron's Toyota, 9th place for the 55. And after Kyle Busch made that tremendous surge and got back on the lead lap, boy, he was passing cars like they were stopped. But now he's stopped at 10th place, kind of mired right there, Larry.
But just remember right there, he had to start at the tail end of the field because this is a backup car. He had a crash in yesterday's final practice session.
But I have been watching him, and he just, I can't believe he's relentless. He gets after somebody, and he will not quit till he gets around them and moves on.
Eric Almirola driving Richard Petty's 43. Back up right where he started in 11th place. Used the wave around to get back on the lead lap. He's 10 seconds off the lead. And Ryan Newman, Quicken Loan Chevy, 12th. Now he's 13 seconds from the lead, but started back in 40th position after they mismatched tires in qualifying. They had the wrong tires on the right side and had to make a change, and things did not go well in qualifying for Mr. Newman. Brad Keselowski's had an up and down night. He's led 30 laps, the 4th most of all drivers so far. His Penske Ford 14 seconds off the front spot. And here is former Indy Racing League champ Tony Stewart, 3-time NASCAR champion. Stewart's had a quiet night on the lead lap. His position matches his car number. He's 13 seconds back. Finally on the lead lap, Austin Dillon, 21 seconds back. Steve?
Crew Chief Keith Rod just called Jamie McMurray in. So far, their strategy has worked. Small chassis adjustment on that number 1 car and 4 tires for Jamie McMurray.
Well, he was due about 8 laps before anybody else on the lead lap to make a stop. As Larry pointed out, the last 2 caution flags, McMurray stayed out. Matt Kenseth from Wisconsin assumes the lead in the Coca-Cola 600. Welcome back to Charlotte. We are under caution. Kurt Busch has blown an engine. 900 miles of racing today for Kurt Busch. Now, as that happens in the backstretch, you're watching Jimmie Johnson come onto pit road to make his pit stop.
But you could see the pit road entrance light was green. He was running third when this caution came out. He's already on pit road. I think this was a heads-up call by Jimmie Johnson, Chad Canals. Because of where he's pitting all the way at the end of pit road, they went ahead and elected to do the pit stop and change 4 tires. All he had to do is move to the exit of pit road and beat Matt Kenseth there. He stays on the lead lap, so this was a real heads-up move.
Just another big advantage to having that #1 pit stall. I mean, it gives you the great opportunity to take a lot of advantages of different situations.
Pit positions are chosen in order of qualifying, and Johnson won the pole.
Now, what he has to do is to right there, he just has to beat that 20 car to that line that goes all the way across the racetrack and across the exit of pit road, and he indeed did that.
The driver disadvantaged by this caution was Jamie McMurray, who made a green flag pit stop. Just 2 laps before the yellow came out. Kurt Busch's long day of racing Indianapolis and Charlotte is over. Jeff Hammond.
All right, well, Kurt Busch right now is he's a little bit upset right there, but man, 900 miles of racing. You didn't want it to end this way after a fantastic finish up at Indianapolis. Tell us what happened.
The motor blew. I mean, it acted like it swallowed 3 cylinders all at once, and so it was real slow. Kind of a shame, you know. It almost symbolizes how tough it's been this year on the Haas Automation team. We give it our all, and you know, the way we were clawing our way up there and got a lucky break with the caution one time, and I thought we were making good gains on the car, and it was great to race in traffic and to feel the stock car right after driving an Indy car was a day I'll never forget. And I can't let the mood here with the car dampen what happened up in Indy today. That was very special, and it takes a big team. It takes a team everywhere, and Andretti Autosport gave me a top 5 car to try to win the Indy 500 with. And then, you know, the Stewart Haas guys gave me a good car tonight that the motor just went. Sometimes that happens. So all in all, I'm very satisfied. I gave it my all. I trained hard. I had a lot of people helping me out. Just thanks to Gene Haas and Tony Stewart and Michael Andretti and this whole group. I mean, everybody worked hard on both sides.
Thanks, Kurt. Let's go to pit stops.
Steve.
4 tires for Matt Kenseth. They've also made a chassis adjustment, Mike. He said his car was loose in, tight in the middle. Matt Yoakum.
Steve, tight on landing, but loose everywhere else for Martin Truex Jr. An air pressure change on the 78. He's away. Krista.
Teammates Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon both took just 2 right side tires on the last stop. They both elect to make a 4 tire change on this one. Jeff Gordon saying his car is starting to get tight, but great.
Thanks, Krista. Kurt Busch's day and night ends after 906 miles of racing. Up in smoke, out of the race.
We welcome you back with Michael Waltrip, Chris Myers. It came to a frustrating finish for Kurt Busch. Of course, his owner, Tony Stewart, has done the double before and been able to complete at the 600 and a good finish at the Indy 500. 6th there for Kurt Busch, but here it ends with engine problems.
Yeah, you could just tell how dejected Kurt was because he put so much into it. He trained. He was ready to go 600 miles tonight, and he had fought himself into contention in this race. Lapped down early, got back on the lead lap, but then his car broke.
And you heard him say, it's a day you'll never forget.
Exactly.
Going from the Indy car to this car. All right, so let's talk about where the driver is mentally. Jimmie Johnson's been the pole sitter. He's led a lot of laps. He's at the front here, but you know you still have 150-plus miles to go.
You know, you got to catch some breaks if you're going to win one of these things, Chris. And Jimmie just caught one. He was on pit road when the caution flew. Now he's right up front. That car's been fast all night long. Huge advantage to Jimmie Johnson right now. Kevin Harvick, Jamie McMurray are both now mired in the back, and they've proven to have cars that can run with Jimmie Johnson.
With 120 laps to go, Jimmie Johnson, right, the champion, has yet to win this year. Right behind him, Matt Kenseth won more races than any other driver last year. He's yet to win this year. Then you have Jeff Gordon and Joey Logano, a 2-time winner. He's been quiet when it comes to leading tonight.
And Carl Edwards, those Roush Fenway cars struggled early, but now he's fought his way into the top 10. So it's been fun to see all the comers and goers. We talked about that before the race started. As the track changes, some guys that struggled early would be strong, and when it got later, and Carl is an example of one of those guys. 24
lead changes. Let's head back upstairs. Jimmie Johnson has led 7 different times tonight, Mike.
Thanks, Chris. 7 different leaders in this race as you have a look at Barney Visser, who owns the car of Martin Truex Jr. Little single car team raced out of Denver, Colorado, because that's where Barney's from. Matt Yoakum.
Mike, there are stars on pit road and also on the racetrack, but the true heroes are men and women like owner Barney Visser. Soon after graduation from high school in 1968, he was off to Vietnam. He landed in the 173rd Airborne Brigade, where the casualty rate was 90%. In true hero fashion, so many acts of heroism that have gone unmentioned from his unit. After 21 months, he returned home. The cab driver, he refused payment when he found out that Barney was on his way home. And from all of us, just like the cab driver, thank you, Mr. Visser, and all those men and women who have served, past and present.
Thanks, Matt, and thanks to all of our service people who are here in attendance and watching around the world this telecast of the Coca-Cola 600. Aerial coverage tonight brought to you by Goodyear, also proudly supporting our military for 100 years. You can show your support for our troops at Goodyear.com, official tire of NASCAR.
Makes us pretty proud when we come to Charlotte Motor Speedway, the job that they do here. Marcus Smith and his group honoring our military the way they do every year for Memorial Day. There's so many servicemen and women here at the track. We've seen them in the stands, hamming up there with them. I'm so proud of our sport. Our sport welcomes the military with open arms every chance that we get, and certainly on a day like today and a weekend like this, it's very, very special.
Absolutely, Darrell. I grew up spending Memorial Days marching in the town parade or listening to the Indy 500 on the radio with my dad. It wasn't until I started losing my friends in Vietnam that the true meaning of Memorial Day really hit home. It is our most solemn holiday and one we should treat with a great deal of respect.
Amen.
Back to green. Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth out in front of Jeff Gordon and Joey Logano. Looks like Jimmy Johnson's on refuse to lose mode once again.
And for the first time in a while, about all drivers, that's the oil drive from the engine that let go of Kurt Busch's car you see there on the backstretch. Most all the drivers are on equal tires as far as all four fresh tires.
Yeah, the two winningest drivers from last year, Jimmy Johnson and Matt Kenseth, here they are battling for their first win of the 2014 season. Who would have thought that?
Truex to the inside, fourth place, and he jumps under Jeff Gordon in Barney Visser's Chevrolet. That's 78. Grabs it.
Boy, it's good to see that 78 running good tonight. They have struggled so mightily with that team and that car, but tonight Todd Berrier and Martin Truex Jr., they got her hooked up.
Yeah, only one top 10 finish this year, and that was 10th at Richmond a few weeks ago.
And that's a team that made the chase last year with Kurt Busch. So we know it has a tremendous amount of potential.
Second place. Dive to the inside by Joey Logano, trying to put his Ford in front of Matt Kenseth's Toyota. Not in turn two.
And again, there's two guys leading the race that haven't won this year. Guy running third right now has 2 wins this year. So be nice to see those two guys out front. One of them win a race.
And now, Darrell, we have went through the last major transition of this racetrack. We're in full darkness. It's still going to cool down a little bit, but no more major changes.
Now, last time around, watch Eric Almirola as he battled back at 11th position, turn 2. That's his 43 on the outside. Whoa. Got in the back of Brad Keselowski there, and Danica Patrick.
Right here, turn left, right after the grass.
Teammate to the 41 that just blew up. Her engine is let go.
Did the same identical thing.
Just on the other side of the racetrack.
Yeah, a trail of oil all the way down into turn 1, right to where the car is.
She had dropped back to 33rd after starting 4th.
When they drop a cylinder, where something in the valve train starts to go away, it's just a matter of time.
Sorry, guys. Definitely not what we had wanted, but we did some good things this weekend.
Yes, you did.
Paul Menard will get the free pass on this, the 7th caution flag of the night. Here it is. GoDaddy Chevrolet coming apart. Jimmy Johnson, your leader, under caution. Since 1960, this has been NASCAR's longest race. The first time they ran it here after the track was completed, it was the World 600, and it's been 600 miles ever since. Just northeast of Charlotte, home of the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Jimmy Johnson, your race leader. All he did last Saturday maybe you were excited about mowing the lawn. All Jimmy Johnson did was run an Olympic-length triathlon and then come here and run the Sprint All-Star race.
And Mike, in between the two practices yesterday, we saw him running in the infield tunnel. He went out and took him a little run between the two practice sessions yesterday.
I just don't understand that.
Being fit?
just running. Somebody got to be after you to be running. Look at me like.
Well, he's after a run to victory lane, that's for sure. Goodyear is giving back to our military heroes and their families. We've talked about this throughout the telecast, and you can show your support. You can bid on VIP race experiences, a ride in the Goodyear blimp, autographed memorabilia in the charity auction, and you can find other ways to help. Just visit Goodyear.com.
But Mike, I will say this, you'd have been proud of me last night, Larry. We danced till midnight at Sarah and Matt's wedding, and in typical Waltrip tradition, guess what Matt and Sarah are doing tonight? Watching the race.
Okay. Well, on this Memorial Day weekend, Fox Sports Supports is especially proud to recognize the Army's Gold Star Pin campaign. It honors the families of fallen service members. And to learn more, visit goldstarpins.org. Pit road is open. Now, Jimmy Johnson has 4 more laps on his tires than Matt Kenseth, and they're going to stay out. A couple fainted and then stayed out. Brad Keselowski and Eric Almirola are the first two to come down pit road, actually behind Carl Edwards. Tony Stewart's in as well. Steve? So some of the lead lap cars. Jamie McMurray's back in. Remember, he made a green flag stop just before the prior caution. And Kevin Harvick stopping as well. The free pass on this caution will be Paul Menard.
About all those drivers were at the tail end of the lead lap drivers.
110 laps to go in the Coca-Cola 600 on Fox.
The Coca-Cola 600 is sponsored by Subway. It's avocado season at Subway. Add it to any of your favorite subs or salads. Subway, eat fresh. By Walmart, pledging $250 billion over 10 years to support American jobs. And by the new Samsung Galaxy S5. The next big thing is here.
I want to send along our condolences to the family of Ronnie Schaefer, one of the transport drivers that moves NASCAR on Fox from city to city and coast to coast, native of Pittsburgh, resident of Charlotte, leaves Carol and his wife Carol and a family, and passed away earlier this week very suddenly. And we get ready to go back to green with 108 laps to go here in the Coca-Cola 600. The two drivers who will restart on the front row combined for by far the most wins in 2013, but neither has been to victory lane this year. Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth.
Yeah, 13 wins total last year, over a third of our races.
Green flag, Johnson with Logano. And Ryan Newman goes to pit road as we restart without him. Around the outside, Kenseth takes the lead.
Yeah, our top 10 drivers, most of them you see right here, they stayed out on that caution right there, did not pit.
Truex to the outside in that black 78. Testing Logano for third.
Oh boy.
Logano holds the spot. Kyle Busch in play in the 18.
They have just made that 18 car of Kyle Busch's better and better as we've got into the night and into this race.
But he's got company coming up the outside. Keselowski whistles past. Now Dale Earnhardt Jr. alongside in the 88.
Again, I think Kyle Busch has carried that car a lot tonight. I mean, he has really driven hard tonight, all night long.
Fighting for fifth against Earnhardt. Jeff Gordon looking in the 24.
Boy, Dale Jr. got right down on the side of that 18 car as if he was trying to get a little side draft.
Gordon and Vickers want a piece of this.
You're right, Darrell. With Kyle Busch, that 18 right there, boy, that car really stepped out on Dale Earnhardt Jr. right then. He walks way up the racetrack. I think there's so much just determination right there going on in that yellow 18.
I agree, Larry. I mean, I've just watched him, and he's been tenacious.
And here comes Almirola in the 43. Flying that Air Force car, a little squirrely-whirly there because he had McMurray to his inside.
Hello. Coming through the one car.
Excuse me, pardon me.
Yes, I'm on my way to the front.
Jamie Mack, by the way, ran his fastest lap of the race not long ago. And Matt Kenseth, just one lap ago, ran his fastest lap of the race.
But those two guys leading the race right now, when you think of a 600-mile race, when you think of Matt Kenseth, I mean, he would be the first guy I'd think of that would be really good in a 600-mile race, a long race like this. And Jimmy Johnson right there with him.
Yeah, Matt got his very first career win here in the Coca-Cola 600 his rookie season back in 2000.
So he's won it once. Jimmy Johnson's won it 3 times. Darrell's won it 5.
I got lucky a couple times.
They all count. Johnson wants the lead back. He's led the most laps tonight. Might not lead this one. Kenseth hangs tough on the outside.
Yeah, it's hard to come off that turn down underneath a fast car like that. Jimmy had to really wiggle the wheel, and I think he may have had to burp it a little bit.
Yeah, Darrell, we've seen that for 2 weeks. When you run up high on the exit of the corner, it just carries so much speed and launches you down the straightaway.
Yeah, when you come off the bottom so fast, you need the whole racetrack. You need to be able to go all the way out to the wall. Car beside of you just can't do it.
Down to the garage, Jeff Hammond.
Danica Patrick, we saw what happened to your engine, but tell us about how the early part of the race went. You really were very competitive.
Beginning started off all right. Had a good start. Then hit second, and started getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And unfortunately, we weren't able to fix it on the first stop, so it took a couple stops to make it a little bit better. And then we had a plan there to make a big adjustment that I felt like was really going to help under yellow. And dropped the cylinder or lost power, and then we got hit. So unfortunately, a lot of bad luck, and weren't really as fast as we needed to be at the beginning. It's unfortunate for the whole GoDaddy team. It would have been great to keep the run going that we had, but I think we still showed some good things this weekend, and we're not going to forget about where we've been lately and running better, and we'll be back to get him at Dover.
Thanks, Jeff. Danica Patrick out of the race, joining Kurt Busch, Ryan Truex, Josh Wise, Reed Sorensen, and David Gilliland.
Now, we don't know what went on with the Chevrolet engines that built by Hendrick Engines that's in Danica Patrick's car, as well as her teammate Kurt Busch. But with about 150 miles to go, we still have a lot of those Chevrolet engines out there on the racetrack. You have the 4 Hendrick drivers. You have 2 more of the Stewart-Haas drivers, and also 2 of the Chip Ganassi drivers. So a lot of Chevrolet engines, including Jeff Gordon in that 24, that's built by that engine company.
Jeff Gordon working hard on Kyle Busch as Jamie McMurray goes to the inside of Dale Earnhardt Jr. And that is for 9th on the right of your screen, 6th on the left.
Well, Larry, you're talking about the engines, the Toyota engines that in the 20 car. I mean, these engines are at their absolute max. And they're being asked to do so much for so long. I mean, you're talking about engines making 850 horsepower, 9,500 RPM, with 700 and 800 miles on the parts and pieces in them.
And you talked about it at the top of the show. The race pace right now is over a second faster than it was in those first 100 laps.
Yeah, I mean, you know, now you're the tiredest, the engines that got the most miles on them, and you're asking these cars to perform better than they have all night long.
And look who's coming back. Brad Keselowski restarted 12th at lap 294, 12 laps ago. He's come from 12th to 4th.
And they just keep getting off sequence with their strategy. When he stays out when everyone else pit. Remember, the top 10 stayed out. They got 4 tires that time.
Now we're having fun. How do you do that with that crappy motor? Switches should be set. Go get the 22.
It's his teammate just in front of him. Joey
Apparently,
Logano.
he had some disparaging words about his motor at some point in time tonight.
At some point. But it's come to life as he tracks down the 22, Connecticut's Joey Logano. Joey's had quite a week. Tuesday night, he raced go-karts in the Little 600. Wednesday, he threw out the first pitch at Charlotte Knight's new stadium. Friday, he spent down on Speed Street. Qualified Thursday night, practiced on Saturday. Sundays for racing.
Oh, and he had a birthday yesterday, turned 24 years old.
How about that? Krista?
And really, Joey Logano has had a solid car all night. They've just made a lot of changes to keep up with the racetrack. On the last run, he said it took off great, the best it's been in traffic. The only thing he needed really was more drive off. But Joey very comfortable and confident inside that race car.
These two guys right here are having a heck of a battle. I tell you, Kyle Busch and Jeff Gordon here, they back and forth, back and forth. They changed positions about 3 times a lap.
And here's the third place race between teammates, and for the lead, Jimmy Johnson again trying Matt Kenseth. That smoke you see in turn 2 is from a campfire. We hope it's a campfire. It's in the infield. It's not on the racetrack.
Well, it's over at Redneck Hill over there. They have those things happen over there.
Jimmy Johnson in his 48, he keeps making a run at Matt Kenseth in that 20-car leader, but he just can't complete the pass.
You know who lives over there on Redneck Hill? Mater.
Mater.
That's where Mater came from.
From the movie Cars.
He's the mayor of Redneck Hill.
Toe Mater. Johnson keeps looking, but he keeps looking on the inside, Darrell. And you've talked about how hard it is to get a run up off the corner from the bottom lane.
That 48's a bottom feeder. He just about always is. I mean, that's just where he likes to run, and he knows this joint pretty good. He's won a lot here, and I'd say he'll make it work. We're hearing there might be a little bit of a problem with the 88 car.
Here he comes to pit road.
On pit road.
He's dropped to 13th. Krista?
Look at the front.
Yeah, the team being told to open the hood as Dale Earnhardt Jr. will bring his car down pit road. They took 4 tires on last pit stop. They actually had a slow pit stop on the last one. It made a mistake. Dale Earnhardt Jr. rallying his troops saying, no problem. There's no other group I would rather have. But he came on the radio just a few moments ago and said, possible vibration. They said, check the oil pressure. Dale Earnhardt Jr. hood up on pit road.
Yeah, she's smoking as he came down pit road.
He was 10th as the lead battle continues. And Johnson keeps trying the inside.
Hamlin on pit road.
Yeah, he made the pass work that time. He was able to do that little slide job coming up off turn 4 and get in front of Kenseth in that 20.
That's how you make the bottom work.
Put up on Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car. That's the 3rd Hendrick-powered car to be stopped with the hood up. Kurt Busch, Danica Patrick already in the garage as Junior pulls away, and Denny Hamlin, after service from his Joe Gibbs Toyota crew, goes back in the race.
Tell you, this is that time of the night, buddy, and this is the time of the race when if something's going to happen, you're probably going to see it happen over the next few laps. These engines, I don't want to keep hammering on the subject, but it's just amazing what they go through.
Darrell, we're getting close to 500 miles, and for the last half dozen years, the winner of the 600 has been running either first, second, or third at 500 miles, and that is 6 of the last 7 winners.
All right, just look at this RPM right here. 86, 85, 8600. That's almost 800 to 900 down from what he should be turning.
Yeah, when he goes by, Larry, I mean, you can hear it. It's just, she's laboring. All these issues are again valve train related. Probably rocker arms, valves, valve spring, something in the valve train.
Jeff Gordon completes the pass of Kyle Busch.
Well, they'll get back at it.
Yep,
They've been having some fun.
Moving his Chevrolet to 6th. So the top 5, 2 Chevys, 1 Toyota, and 2 Fords. Good bit of parity there. Jimmy Johnson and Martin Truex are the Chevys. It's Matt Kenseth's Toyota. Keselowski and Logano in Fords.
This run tonight for the 48 car, kind of reminiscent of California. Remember how he dominated the race earlier this year at California, only to have a tire failure with about, what, Larry, 6-8 laps to go. that cost him a sure win there.
But now remember, Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car, he'll have to be the first driver to hit pit road under green coming up here shortly.
Memorial Day was created shortly after the Civil War. It was called Decoration Day. And the graves of fallen soldiers were decorated as a symbol of our appreciation for the contributions and sacrifices of our U.S. military, past and present. Here in Concord, North Carolina, the red, white, and blue adorns Jimmy Johnson's Lowe's Chevrolet as he leads Matt Kenseth by 0.8 of a second. With 76 laps to go, this is the 5th time that Johnson's led over 100 laps at Charlotte, but only one of those races where he led 100 or more did he go to victory lane. Matt Kenseth currently second. He's led laps tonight, looking for his first win of the year. 2 Toyotas have visited victory lane this season. Kyle Busch at California, Denny Hamlin, Talladega.
Well, if unconventional wisdom will win you a race, bet on that 2 car, because they seem to be guys that are willing to do something totally opposite than everyone else.
And that's how Brad Keselowski and Paul Wolfe won here last October.
Yeah, and of our top 3, Brad Keselowski, he's the one that can go the furthest in this run because he was on pit road that last caution to change 4 tires.
And I think they plan it that way, Larry. I don't think these guys are just out there, oh, let's do this, let's do that. Oh, we'll try this. But they got a game plan.
Now, a lap ago, here's Joey Logano behind Keselowski and then Jeff Gordon. But a lap ago, did you see Dale Earnhardt Jr. just fly past Keselowski? That's because he has new tires, like Superman. Yeah. He is, however, 3 laps down.
Well, we thought there was something wrong with the car a little bit ago, but it sure doesn't appear that way now. They thought they had an engine problem.
Brian Vickers up to 6th, quietly marching his way to the front. And Kevin Harvick, who was trapped a lap down earlier, he's fought his way back to 7th.
Yeah, it was lap 263 that Harvick was trapped after making a green flag stop when the caution came out.
Same thing happened to Jamie McMurray. He had made a green flag stop and the yellow flew, but he's now back up to 8th. We have 15 cars on the lead lap. Martin Truex Jr. 9th, Kyle Busch 10th, and Tony Stewart going around Kyle Busch as the 18 comes to pit road.
Yeah, the 18 had been falling back, Mike. He was battling with Jeff Gordon, who's running 5th. Something happened. What happened, Steve? They come into pits.
Well, Kyle had lost some positions, DW, as you said. In his comment to Dave Rogers, the crew chief, he said, it will not turn and I cannot hold the bottom. Chris Devoto.
Steve, still listening to Dale Earnhardt Jr. They talked about the vibration. He brought it in. Engine tutor Jay Nolan went over the wall, got under the hood. They made an adjustment. Steve Letarte telling him, okay, what about now? He goes, you know, it's still there. Something's wrong, but it's able to hang on.
And Martin Truex Jr. brings the 78 Chevrolet down pit road. He said the car has gone back to the tight side once again. You can see they're going to make a chassis adjustment across the back, Steve. Air pressure change as well.
20 cars.
Matt Kenseth down pit road. He said to the crew, nothing cute here. Let's just do it nice and solid. Matt said his car is tight in the center and loose off. Krista.
Jeff Gordon saying his race car has gotten very tight. He has lost the drive off. He feels great in the car, even with the bad back. The car needs a slight adjustment. They're going to do that right now.
Greg Biffle, Austin Dillon in the pit lane as well. Dillon had gotten back up onto the lead lap in 13th, making their scheduled green flag pit stops. Jimmy Johnson coming along with Joey Logano and Jamie McMurray. Tony Stewart's in, Brian Vickers. Krista.
This is when Jimmy Johnson and team are just so good, keeping up with the changes. They are making a slight adjustment to give Jimmy a little bit more of the feel he needs. He had said that this always has been a race of attrition. It's now a race of opportunity if you take advantage of it. Joey Logano, meanwhile, has had a great car. The only problem they had on the last run, he needed to drive off. He's been the best it's been all night in traffic, but a slow stop for the 22.
McMurray and Harvick and Stewart exit pit lane in front of Logano, who speeds past Stewart, coming back up to speed.
But you can see Brad Keselowski on the left in the 2 car. He's the leader, but you saw Casey Mears just blow by him with those 4 fresh tires. Now, Sunoco fuel-wise, Keselowski can go to about lap 340, which is about 8 to 10 laps from now.
And I think they'll run it all the way as far as they can, Larry, and try to get within possibly. They couldn't make it to the end if they ran it out, could they?
That would be a stretch, because even if he comes at lap 340, that would be 60 laps to go.
Well, that's pushing it.
Keselowski, Almirola, Edwards, and Menard, the first 4 drivers, still have not made this round of green flag pit stops, nor has Kyle Larson, who is 2 laps down in 17th.
Man, the guys with new tires, catching the guys with the old tires, it's scary how quickly they close.
And we started seeing this about 4 caution flags ago when Matt Kenseth made a huge run in picking up almost 10 spots in 2 laps. And we've seen it ever since as we transition into nighttime. 100 miles to go as Joey Logano works over Jamie McMurray for 12th place. Three Fords out front, but who will win the Coca-Cola 600?
The Coca-Cola 600 on Fox is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
We're into the final 100 miles at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Coca-Cola 600. Here are the leaders at the 100-mile markers so far. 90 to go right now. We have talked about Brad Keselowski and Paul Wolfe being contrary. Wonder what their strategy is from here.
What do you want to do? We got to go, Jack. You here? Whatever you think, bud. They do anything else at this point, right? No, you're right. You're right, bud. Guys that pit early, we might get jumped by, you know, a couple guys, but we have the chance of going all the way. It's just a trade-off. I trust you. Makes sense. Still go about 13. Let's do it. Yes, sir. Let's do it.
I'm thinking that's what they've been working toward all night long, is to get themselves in a position where they could make that final pit stop and go further than anybody and win this race on fuel mileage.
Well, Darrell, they pitted at lap 291. If they can go 50 laps, and that takes them to 341. We've had 12 caution laps, so add another 6 laps. So that puts them right there on top of that window where they could maybe do it on this one more stop.
And what I love is I like the way Paul Wolfe and Brad talk. They're strategizing together.
Now 2 drivers who pitted at the same time just left pit road, Ryan Newman and Paul Menard. Here comes Keselowski, who was last in at lap 291. Matt?
And they warned Keselowski about the 33 leaving on his entry. They were going to make a chassis adjustment on the Q. They waved that off. Clean tear off for the final run of the finish. And he had been, like you heard on the audio, he'd been trying to save fuel leading up to his pit stop. Packed it full of fuel, he's away.
Meanwhile, during the last commercial break, Dale Earnhardt Jr. ran only 24 laps before he came to pit lane, saying it felt like the engine was not taking fuel. They gave him gas and 4 tires and sent him back out. Now here's Eric Almirola and Carl Edwards. Steve?
Eric Almirola's feedback is, I need help running the middle groove. You see Carl Edwards on your right. He told Jimmy Fennick, I don't think we need to tighten it up for the last run. 4 tires and fuel for both of those competitors.
They were 3rd and 4th when they came in.
Now that's Ford engines built by Roush Yates, just like Brad Keselowski, and they just ran an additional lap more than Brad Keselowski, but they cannot keep Almirola's cranked.
There he goes, finally. Oh, that is costly.
A lot of precious time lost there under green.
Jimmy Johnson's lead over Matt Kenseth, 1.7 seconds. Now we've had engine trouble for Kurt Busch and Danica Patrick. Not sure what's up with Dale Jr.'s car, but let's get more from Jeff Hammond.
And Mike, what we're hearing right now, I'm talking to one of the engine experts. I'm talking about Scotty Maxim down there with Hendrick Engine, is he's telling me this is how the engine works, folks. This is where the air comes in, valve springs. This is the valve itself, the piston, and what goes on, as it goes through its cycle, lets the fuel in, and all of a sudden it burns it, ignites it. But the problem is beginning, they believe, right in this area here, which is the valve spring itself. When you break one of those, either because of RPM or because of this overall stress and failure, when it breaks, it allows this valve to come down and make contact eventually with the piston. And when that happens, that's when you get yourself in trouble. Right in there, that's when they come down. They actually make contact, and that's the reason why we've seen some big explosions in the end. They lose the valve spring. Eventually, that valve will tag the piston, go through that piston, and out the bottom of the engine. That's where all the smoke comes from. But so far, they don't really have an explanation. They kind of got their fingers crossed, guys, that they can make it this extra, the rest of this race, and especially the extra 100 miles.
Thanks, Jeff. 9,300 RPM for 4.5 hours. Longest race of the year in NASCAR, 600 miles. 51 laps to go for Jimmy Johnson. Matt Kenseth is a couple of tenths quicker than Johnson right now.
I just wonder how many guys are thinking fuel mileage.
Well, I have to believe Brad Keselowski would be one, and Carl Edwards in the 99.
So I think there's some fuel mileage strategy getting ready to play out here.
Well, you saw Brad Keselowski come in a few laps ago. They are on a contrary strategy to these two. How about it, Matt?
Team engineer on the 2-car, Brian Wilson, just told Paul Wolf moments ago they need 3 laps. He relayed that to Brad. Brad said, when do you want me to start? He was told, whenever you want to start, you can do it. The bottom line is we need 3 laps to save for fuel.
How do you save 3 laps of fuel at these speeds?
Yeah, because that's 4.5 miles that fuel he's got to save.
Yeah, but you don't mash the gas wide open. Here, think about gas like this. When you're pushing down on the pedal, you're burning gas. When you're off the pedal, you're not burning gas.
All right, that's 4.5 miles. These things get a little over 4 miles to the gallon. They're asking him to save a little over a gallon of fuel.
He can do it.
Hey everybody, thanks again for all the hard work and doing this double. My job starts right now. Starts all over again, 600 miles. What I'm saying is you guys need to come up with a plan to fix the front end. Hey man, you're addressing it with the throttle compared to most people. 34 inside, easy. Caution's out, caution's out.
43 laps to go. Brad Keselowski flashes onto pit road. Matt?
Back on lap 353, Mike, he keyed the mic and said, I think I have a loose wheel. A few moments later said, I believe it's something wrong with the left front hub, maybe braking. And then half a lap ago, he says, I do believe it is a loose wheel. He hit pit road, changing those now. He was running ninth at that junction.
Well, so much for strategy.
And we're told that Kevin Harvick will be making a pit stop shortly. Now, just prior to the stop, watch the telemetry on Brad Keselowski's car, 8,800 RPM, full throttle, and then shuts it off and coasts into the corner.
He can do. I've never seen anybody be able to do that other than him. Remember Kansas a couple years ago, kicking it out of gear, turning the engine off, coasting in the corner at 180 miles an hour. I don't know how he does it, but he does it.
Keselowski back out there a lap down, 17.
But see, that's what makes racing pull your hair out. They had a great strategy. I think they had a great game plan. All of a sudden, that's all for naught.
And Keselowski says the vibration is still there.
He probably nailed it on the first call when he said he thought he had a loose wheel, or maybe it was a left side hub. We'll wait and see what happens to the car, but he may have nailed it on that first call.
Larry, we're in sort of uncharted territory in that we only go past 500 miles once a year, and it's this night.
Well, and yeah, you know, as a crew chief and as a driver, you're on borrowed time. But Matt Yoakum, what you got, buddy?
Brad Keselowski just said on the radio that the vibration has gone away. It definitely was a loose wheel. Obviously emotional, saying he thinks they've thrown this race away. But Paul Wolfe, the championship crew chief he is, trying to get the composure back for his driver, knowing there's a lot of laps left and a number of cars will have to stop again, possibly.
If you want to think about it, that was their money stop.
Yes.
And they made a mistake on it. And we've seen that so much this year. There's so much pressure on these pit crews. Got to nail it. Got to get it right. We've seen a lot of mistakes on pit road.
That's at least 3 drivers, include the driver you're riding with, Denny Hamlin in 11. Throw in the fact of Clint Boyer in the 15 that we felt like had a car that could contend, that's had to make unscheduled stop for loose wheels.
Happened to Hamlin twice. The left rear was loose. Johnson the leader, Kenseth second, Gordon third, and Kevin Harvick back in play, 3.3 seconds off the lead. Steve?
Rodney Childers just asked him about the balance of his race car, Mike. Kevin's response was, you know, I don't know. I think it's loose on exit, but then it pushes on me.
So a little bit puzzling there. And Denny Hamlin is back on pit road. A.J. Allmendinger going a lap down. Lap 368. That's just 4 laps from now. That's when the last caution flew on average in the last 10 Coke 600.
Now that's the trend of actually 9 out of the last 10, because we had the one that was rain shortened in 2009. But the trend in 2014, if you look at 7 of our 11 races this year, we have had a caution in the final 15 laps.
Jeff Gordon, third place under Casey Mears. He's 2.9 seconds off the lead. Didn't have a stellar qualifying run. Got knocked out in round 1 of knockout qualifying. Started 25th.
I'm seeing some cars that I really haven't seen any what I call evil cars tonight. But I've seen a couple of cars come off turn 4 that almost caused caution.
We're going to take you side by side with 34 laps to go. Jimmy Johnson leading Matt Kenseth by 1 second. Jimmy Johnson leading with 30 laps to go at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, proudly supporting our military for 100 years. Support our troops. Go to Goodyear.com. Goodyear, official tire of NASCAR. The top 10 all pitted from lap 330 to 332. The first driver we've heard that says he can make it is Carl Edwards' team. Edwards is 11th. He pitted at lap 346, 15 laps later than the leaders.
Yeah, all of those 10 drivers running 1 through 10, Mike, including Jimmy Johnson in 48, they're going to have to make one more stop before this thing's over. But remember, we talked about Carl Edwards. He actually pitted 1 lap after Brad Keselowski did back on lap 354, actually 346. So that's going to make him have to run 54 laps. Now, he's almost a lap down. He's still on the lead lap. I don't know if this would be a race-winning move, but it could certainly buy him a much better finish than he was going to have if he can go to the very end.
I just like guys that are willing to try it. You know, take a chance, gamble a little bit, try it.
Oh, Matt Kenseth slides and coming onto pit road, and he's got that early pit stall. He's got to get it woed down, Steve.
And Mike, this will be a 4-tire pit stop for Matt Kenseth. No other chassis adjustments, just 4 tires. They don't even put a second fuel can in, just 4 tires.
Well, if he gets 4 and goes, how long do they dare leave race leader Jimmy Johnson out there?
Yeah, because we've already shown, as you also see Joey Logano in the 22 car, one of those top 10 drivers. He's on pit road. And Krista, I would imagine they're going to get 4.
Yeah, Larry Mack, that's the plan. They also want to get a little redemption. Remember, they had a slow stop the last time by, so they're trying to keep it solid and simple for Joey.
Jimmy Johnson is in. Now, Logano's got to get gone.
Yeah, that's bad
Johnson's
timing.
going to have a bad angle in. He's in.
Well, that was bad timing, though. That 22 car right there.
Krista.
Right now for Jimmy Johnson, a slight adjustment just to keep up with this final sprint to the finish. A 4-tire stop for Jimmy Johnson.
Kevin Harvick, Jamie McMurray, Austin Dillon, Tony Stewart. and Denny Hamlin, or excuse me, Jeff Gordon in the pit lane. Final stop of the night. Brian Vickers is in. Martin Truex, Clint Boyer. Krista?
Well, with the bad back this morning, Jeff Gordon now not just trying to survive and make this race, he is trying to win it. An audible call, 2 tires, 2 right sides for the 24.
Well, Gordon pitted as the leader.
Yep, and 2 tires. That may not be a bad move. That may be a winning move.
Martin Truex gets 4 from that Todd Berrier-led crew and goes back out.
If I remember correctly, when he won the 600 here for his first win, Jeff Gordon, Ray Evernham took 2 tires on his last stop.
Believe you're right.
To win the race.
Yep.
Now you
20 years ago.
20 years ago.
You just saw Paul Menard in that 27 car. He's running second right now. He pitted on lap 343, but we're riding with Carl Edwards right now, pitted on lap 346, and he has a 7.5 second lead over third place Jeff Gordon in that 24 car.
Now, if we can listen to the engine, you can tell if he's trying to save fuel or not, because he'll roll out of the throttle early and he will push the pedal down real nice and gently to try to save as much fuel as he can.
Paul Menard, former Brickyard winner, in second place. He is 4 seconds off the lead. We're going to take you side by side with 23 laps to go. Caution is out. A left rear came apart on left front on Alex Bowman's car. That's put us under caution. Now, Carl Edwards was going to go the distance, try to stretch it on fuel, but the caution changes everything. Steve.
Carl Edwards on pit road, and when the caution came out, Jimmy Fenix said, well, we gave it a whirl, which makes me think they were going to try and go to the end on fuel. But now Carl said, let's just put on tires. They'll take a little gas as well, and now they'll race to the end with everybody else.
Brian Vickers, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano come in. So do Kyle Busch, Paul Menard, Jamie McMurray, Kevin Harvick, and Eric Almirola. So that means staying out Jeff Gordon, Matt Kenseth, Jimmy Johnson. Boy, this is going to get interesting.
It's going to get really interesting. I like it.
Martin Truex Jr. also stayed out. Woo. So here's your sprint, 20 to go. Jeff Gordon is your race leader, but he took on only 2 tires on his pit stop, and that's what put him up to the front spot. The 2 men chasing him have not won a race this year. Matt Kenseth and Jimmy Johnson, they combined for the most wins last year, 13 total, but neither has visited victory lane in 2014.
With less than 20 laps to go, when we come back to green, those 2 right side tires may get the job done. I'm not going to say they won't.
If nothing else, they have him out front where he's going to get max downforce on that car.
And we saw, just like in Kansas, when he got out front, he was able to kind of gap the field. So we'll see what happens here tonight.
And Carl Edwards' strategy changes completely with this caution flag. They cannot stretch it to the end on fuel. That's your sprint, 20 to go. Lap down cars now head to pit lane. 20 laps to go, working caution for the 8th time tonight, and looking ahead to next week.
Next week we take on the Monster Mile in all of its mayhem. It's the final race of the season on Fox. We're going to go out in a ball of flame. There's going to be lots of bumping and banging out there. It's all going to be right here on Fox.
NASCAR on Fox. FedEx 400 benefiting Autism Speaks. 19 to go here in Charlotte. They'll get 1 to go at the line. Now the first 4 drivers stayed out. Jeff Gordon, Matt Kenseth, Jimmy Johnson, Martin Truex.
Well, you know what? This is when the old crew chief has to get up on his old pit box and say, look at here, Jeff Gordon, you're a 4-time champion. You got 89 wins. You can do it.
I'm not convinced we're finished with cautions either, with them all bunched back up.
Yeah.
And the way these restarts have been.
The way these restarts have been, I totally agree with that.
So among those that stopped, Carl Edwards 5th, Kyle Busch 6th. Paul Menard, Jamie McMurray, Kevin Harvick, and Brian Vickers are your top 10. Also on the lead lap, Brad Keselowski, Eric Almirola, Joey Logano, and Tony Stewart got the free pass on this 8th caution flag of the night.
When I look at Jeff Gordon in his 24-car lead in this race, Mike, when we did those practices yesterday, I don't know if anybody was convinced that he was even going to be able to race today because of back spasms. And here he is, almost closing out 600 miles and sitting here leading the race.
Having driven one of these things and having been a former driver, I would have bet you that he would be in that car tonight because he knows how good that car is right now, and he knows that car could win this race. He definitely wanted to be in it.
All of us in Charlotte want to congratulate Fox Sports executive Jacob Ullman and his wife Zandy on the birth of their son, Nolan David Ullman. Congratulations.
And think about this, Larry. I mean, Gordon's going for back-to-back wins here. I think it's been since
2007.
2007. And Charlotte was a part of that mix.
Pace cars in. It'll be 17 laps to go when Jeff Gordon and Matt Kenseth, Chevy and Toyota, bring them to the line. 14 lead lap cars, all hoping to win it. Kenseth tries to hold Gordon down in turn 1.
And he does. I mean, he held him down, and Jeff had no chance. He had to let him go on the outside. Kenseth to the lead down the back.
Jimmy Johnson on the inside of Martin Truex for 3rd, and right behind them come Carl Edwards and Kyle Busch on the high side. Where else?
Oh boy.
Yeah, the best thing that could happen for Matt Kenseth in that 20 is Jimmy Johnson in that 48 stay behind Jeff Gordon in that 24 for as many laps as possible.
Busch slices his car to the bottom. Harvick scheming around the outside.
Harvick is the man right now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Look at the run he's getting down the back. He got
McMurray to the inside.
Harvick got 2 and 3 and 1 and 2, and he got 3 down the back. That thing is motoring. Man, it's going.
Harvick in the 4, McMurray in the 1. They are side by side fighting for 5th. Harvick restarted 10th. He battles for 5th.
Tell you, when that Matt Kenseth gets out front.
Hey, we better not quit talking about Carl Edwards in that 99. I know Jimmy Johnson is battling his teammate Jeff Gordon in the 24 for 2nd, but Carl Edwards in the 99 right behind them, and he has 4 fresh tires.
Last fall, a 4-tire call on the final pit stop sent Brad Keselowski to the front end of victory lane. Carl Edwards trying to make that happen tonight, but he's got to make up half a straightaway to do it. That's 1.7 seconds with 14 laps to go.
It's going to be hard to do. We've seen this kind of lately, that the guy that gets out front seems to just be able to pull away from everybody else. And right now, Matt Kenseth is running some fantastic lap times. Right there at the 29.03 to a 29.30 on Edwards. So that's 3/10 that Matt put on him right there.
Boy, Edwards had a run underneath Jeff Gordon, but couldn't complete the pass. And here comes Harvick in the 4. Top to bottom. Top around Edwards, bottom around Gordon.
That 4
and
car.
looking at the leaders.
Yeah, that 4 car is the one I want to keep an eye on. That thing is hooked up. I think Kevin Harvick may find out the same thing he found out at Kansas. He needs a few more laps.
But the fastest driver on the racetrack right now is sitting there running in 2nd. Jimmy Johnson in that 48. The last couple of laps, he has beat Matt Kenseth over a 10th a lap.
But how about this? The 2 guys leading the race right now, running 1st and 2nd, need a win. Neither one of them have a win this year. The guy chasing them down, Kevin Harvick, got 2 wins right behind them.
Krista.
Mike, there's no panic on Team 48. Chad Canal-Sakuchi just telling his driver, quote, plenty of time.
I tell you, the 2 tires they're not going to be the hot tip for the 24, doesn't look like. He's getting eaten up by just about everybody right now. He's holding on, but he's losing ground in some of these fast cars.
Well, Darrell, Chad Knaus tells Jimmy Johnson plenty of time, but 10 laps, 10 to go. That does not leave a lot of sand in your hourglass.
Trust me.
Matt Kenseth holds on, he'll be the first in 5 races to do so.
I think what Matt's going to have to do, he's going to have to figure out a little something here different if he's going to stay ahead of Jimmy Johnson, because he likes that bottom, but he might want to move up a little bit and see if he can pick up some time, and it looks like he might be doing that.
Johnson gained a 1/10.5 the last lap.
And that's been the case anywhere from a 1/10 to a 1/10.5 the last 4 laps. You can see he just keeps pulling that 20 car in.
And Johnson is there 2/10 quicker the last lap.
Oh, he got a nice run off. Jimmy Johnson got a nice run off turn 2, and he likes the bottom. Whoa!
Kenseth to block.
Oh my gosh!
Johnson forces the issue into turn 3.
That was a little bit more than a block.
But I think that just goes to show you how much these two guys want to win this race.
Shows me how much that one wants that other guy not to win this race.
Martin Truex had a great run, but slow in the back straightaway and coasting onto pit road.
Oh.
Told it's a tire for Truex. He was 8th.
Well, I don't know, Larry. I don't believe Kevin Harvick's going to have enough time to get to these two guys. He might get to the back of them. I don't think he's going to have enough time to get around them. Do you?
Well, we've got 7 laps to go, and he's beaten them about 2/10. Now, he didn't beat Johnson 2/10. He did beat Matt Kenseth by 2/10 that time.
Landon Castle slow around turn 4, but he's going to stay on the racetrack and try to complete the distance. Jeff Gordon gave up another spot, 7th. And it's a broken axle for Martin Truex.
Well, what a run they had tonight.
Yep.
That's the best they've been all year long.
That's encouraging for that team, because they needed a run like that tonight. They have really lacked in performance, but they had it tonight.
Jimmy Johnson pulling away 3/10 quicker than Matt Kenseth that lap with 6 to go.
Yeah, and it's really pretty much a smooth sailing from here to the finish. There's no traffic ahead. It's going to be a pretty clear track. They're going to come up on Michael Annett here, but he'll get by him. He's the only car that they got to worry with. Clean track.
Kevin Harvick may be able to wrest 2nd from Matt Kenseth before this is over in 5 more laps. It all began at 8 o'clock this morning. Formula 1. Nico Rosberg beating Mercedes teammate Lewis Hamilton to the checkered flag. They're in Monaco, and then at Indianapolis, Helio Castroneves gave his all. Might have made that pass 1 lap too soon, because Ryan Hunter-Reay came storming back to win the 98th Indianapolis 500. 6th place for NASCAR champ Kurt Busch, who came here and fell out of the race with a blown engine, as did Danica Patrick after posting the highest qualifying mark for a woman in the history of the 600. But now it comes down to last year's 2 winningest drivers who entered the night winless. Jimmy Johnson in the number 48 Chevrolet and Matt Kenseth in the number 20 Toyota.
Harvick's going to get to 20, I believe. He's there now. A little bit better than the Matt Kenseth in the 20. Kevin Harvick in the 4. He is rim riding. Get a nice run down the back here. Meanwhile, Jimmy Johnson is driving off.
If you read the headlines this week, lots of concern that Jimmy Johnson had not yet been to victory lane in this season. With the new point standings where winning means everything, he had not yet won. We weren't concerned, but we were wondering.
Here's a clue for you. When that 48 car qualifies well, he races really well. And when he won the pole here on Thursday night, that was an indication to me that they had a really, really good race car and a shot at winning this race.
Well, no longer is Matt Kenseth's problem Jimmy Johnson. His problem just became Kevin Harvick, as Harvick took that 2nd spot away from Matt Kenseth.
White flag. Jimmy Johnson, the last to win the Coca-Cola 600 from the pole, and that a decade ago.
Well, this used to be Jimmy Johnson's house, and then they repaved the joint and they got away from him, but looks like they got it back tonight. This is Johnson's 7th win here at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
First win of 2014 for Jimmy Johnson, Chad Knaus, and the Lowe Chevrolet.
Well done, Jimmy. Well done, buddy. Did a great job today. Thank you for all your hard work and your patience.
It's your brother. That was 48 business all day long right there. Thank you, boys.
Roger that, man. Roger that. I love these races. Good job. Pit crew, way to pull it together there, guys. Good work. Proud of you all.
Jimmy Johnson breaks a tie with Bobby Allison for the most Sprint Cup wins at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Allison and Darrell Waltrip and Johnson tied at 6. No more. Here is your 5-hour energy big move of the race. Matt Kenseth brought it almost down to the bottom. Almost looked like Cale and Donnie at Daytona in '79, but no contact. Good, hard, clean racing. Put the nose of Jimmy Johnson Chevy in the wind.
Well, he hadn't forgotten how to do burnout, so we can see that already.
Yeah, last time we saw that was at Texas in November. I think everyone was concerned about them not winning, except the guy behind the wheel there, Jimmy Johnson, Chad Knaus, and that 48 team.
I tell you what, everybody ought to be really worried about this team from here on out. All they needed was to kind of break the ice and get that win. Now they're going. Where are we going next week?
Dover.
And who has the most wins at Dover?
Jimmy Johnson.
Thank you.
Jimmy Johnson plays capture the flag at Charlotte. Winner of the Coca-Cola 600 by 1.2 seconds over Kevin Harvick, Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, and Jamie McMurray.
Jimmy Johnson carrying the flag just like he's won 6 championships in the last 8 years. His 0 for 11 streak equaling his worst start ever to a season, but he wins tonight after 600 miles. Methodical, deliberate, consistent. That's the kind of driver and champion Jimmy Johnson is. As we welcome you live to Charlotte Motor Speedway and the Sprint post-race show. He led 10 different times, started from the pole. The lowest Jimmy Johnson ever fell in this race was to 14th. Had to fight off Kevin Harvick, who was the favorite coming in, and Matt Kenseth, who chased him last year when he won his 6th championship. You're getting a front row look in his Lowe's Chevrolet. Hendrick Motorsports, engine problems, no problem for this man, with Chad Knaus, his crew chief, barking out the orders. And in position now as Jimmy Johnson, when you look at his career accomplishments, 67th Cup win. That's 8th all time. And he ends, for him, a 13-race winless streak. It was humorous this week when other drivers joked. Matt Kenseth said, I think he's washed up. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. said, for him, 13, it's like a 70-race winless streak.
But as soon as he sat on the pole Thursday night, everybody knew that this was going to be a tough car to beat. Anytime you put Jimmy Johnson out front and he qualifies well and he can take control of the race, pick that pit stall, Chris, and that was a big key tonight. He was on pit road when the caution fell, but he just had to jump off pit road to keep his track position. That was one of the keys to his victory.
And you knew it was just a matter of time, because coming in, he had led the second most laps of all the drivers this year. The win just hadn't come yet, and now it does. So celebration time on this Memorial Day weekend for the driver of the 48. Chris Devoto there for the celebration.
And a celebration it is, Chris. Jimmy Johnson has said that he doesn't pay attention to outside voices or influence when it comes to his race team. But you wouldn't be human if you thought, when is that win going to come? Is it a huge relief to get it off your shoulders?
Absolutely. I mean, it's great to win. But believe me, and I promise you, all the hype and all the concern and worry, that was elsewhere. That wasn't in my head. There are plenty of voices in my head, I'm not going to lie. But we've had a great race, and we've had opportunity there in front of us, and had stuff taken away from us. And then we've had some bad races. I mean, I got to be honest about that too. But tonight we had a great race. So proud of this Hendrick Motorsports prepared race car, Chad Knaus and leadership of this race team, and the great support from Lowe's and Cobalt Tools. And then to do this on Memorial Day, just thank you to all the men and women that have served our country.
And what was the key to your win tonight?
Oh boy, gosh, it was such a long race. There were so many things going on. The track went a little different direction than I thought it would from a handling setup, and once we got on top of that, we were real competitive, but I really think clean air at the start of those restarts were key. I was happy to get by the 24 and then the 20. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get by both of them, and I did, and brought this baby home.
And you also talked about if you could rattle off 2 or 3 wins, maybe these guys will start to fear the 48 again. Do you think it's in their mind?
Yeah, I mean, they know we're awake, and winning, it doesn't matter who you are, and the 4 has had that momentum this year. They've been able to go out there and execute and show a lot of speed. 48 and win. So hopefully this 48's heading that way, and we can get those other people thinking about us.
You gave all those troops, military members, a great show tonight.
Well, Kevin Harvick finishes second, and we talked before the race. He had won 2 of the last 3 of these 600s. What was the difference tonight, Kevin?
Just a loose wheel, and we got behind, and just took us, the rest of the night to get our Budweiser Chevrolet back up front. But Rodney and all these guys are doing a great job. We're just shooting ourselves in the foot on pit road, and we have to get that cleaned up because we obviously can't win races even with the fastest car if we make mistakes continuously on pit road. So it's frustrating, but everybody on our Budweiser team's done a great job.
Thank you, Kevin.
An impressive night for Jeff Gordon, not the 7th place finish, but the challenge of racing with that back condition. How difficult was it for you, Jeff?
It was better than Saturday morning, and that's what I was thankful for. I think, the procedures and the different work and therapy that I did. So thanks to all the folks there's quite a few people that were tending to me, and I appreciate every one of them because I don't think I would have got through this long race. It was tough. I was aching in there. There was one time when I got on the brakes into one and it triggered something, and I didn't know what was going to happen after that, but it settled down. Luckily, I started getting off the brake, and we had such a great race car. Really proud of this Drive-In Hunger Chevy team and Al and all the guys. I love that call there at the end, just like the call that was made when we won the first race here. And I don't know if I could have held off Matt, but we were going to give him a heck of a run. The car was feeling pretty good right there, so just a matter of whether it was going to tighten up over 20-something laps. And I got a decent restart there, but when Matt got to my outside, I got real loose. And at that point, I was just kind of a sitting duck and got real tight. So it was a good effort. I'm happy that I got through it. It, tells me a lot about what kind of threshold I have. And I just want to show this team the kind of commitment I have to them because of what they've shown me this year.
Commitment and a championship-type run here tonight in Charlotte.